Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. And holy crap, we are not talking UFOs tonight. Old Davey needs a break over the last couple of nights. And I'm telling you, we're getting right into it. You know who it is. Let's see it, chat room. Merle. Yes, it's Merle time. All Merle, all day, all Merlin night. And we got the Ghost Moms with us tonight. We'll bring them in momentarily as we talk paranormal all night long. But first, let us get into the chat room and say hello to everybody. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Down in Australia, Grand Paul Holland takes home the silver, while Sweet Ann B brings home the bronze tonight. Ed Clater, Obi Flett, Mennonite Abe, Kevin, how y'all doing? Thanks for coming on in. Gorgeous Aussie Ange is here. She'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Hello, stunning Kathy Evans. How are you? As we continue on with roll call, Sweet Tony D. There's Downshift. Awesome Ann Palmer. The Lip Blade. Your stash is looking perfectly waxed tonight, by the way. Patrick McGuire, thanks for coming on in. Robert Garcia, good morning to you. Holy cow, there he is. We can officially start the show. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, and he's merling it up right off the bat. Dragon Al looking lovely tonight. Thank you for joining us. Hi, John Swan. The scowling Greg O'Brien is here. Yes, you can meet his sour face by getting him to sign your autographs and line up to the right of the studio. To the right of the studio, right after the show. Do not make eye contact. He will not sign for you. Alan Deegan, welcome to SOR Chat. Ross Lambda, nice to see you. Stunning Cindy. Oliviero, how are you? Thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our awesome roll call tonight. And where are we here? The damn chat room jumped on me. Okay, moving on here. Well, Shane is here. You know he's ready to Merle. So is Aussie Ange. And there is, let's see here, Mr. Lurks-a-lot. How are you? Lars Janssen. He's number 13 in your program, wearing the Captain C tonight. Yep, from Luleå, Sweden. I don't know if he's from there, but it just rolls off the tongue nicely. Even Merle is Merling himself. Look at that. Look at that. Sweet Donna C. Millennium. Superknower. How y'all doing? Hey, Bobbert Lazar, how are you? Thanks for joining us. D. Worm, nice to see you. D. Cohen, thank you for coming on in. And who else do we have here? We got the lovely Jenny Whitebear. And, of course, who else do we got? Oh, John Swan. Look at all these Merles popping up here. People love their Merle, I tell you. Digger Dog. How are you? Thanks for joining us. And the gorgeous, along with the stunning Yan. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Hi, Kathleen Hughes, looking lovely tonight. Hold on, we got to start the radio side of this because if we don't, we're kind of in trouble. There we go. All right, lovely Laura, thanks for coming in. The gorgeous Jessica McCreary. Mama Susan, how are you? Fabster, how you doing, buddy? You know? Oh, he gives a mic. That's terrible. Ray Bartell, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Simply Coco, how are you? You're looking gorgeous tonight, by the way. What's the drink of choice for tonight? Please let us know. Damian K, how you doing? Chris Mo in Austria, thanks for joining us. And Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. If you're in Austin, Texas, and you see Uncle Dale, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through the 4th of July. Bones, how are you? thank you for joining us. And DC, welcome to SOR Chat. And Ruger Ridge, good to have you here. And Peppa H, nice to see you. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Whew, I'm done. Roll call. All right. 20 seconds before we rock. And we have to remember that a good way to support this show is through the Super Chat. We really do appreciate the love and support. Hello, Gorgeous Cryptid Huntress and Troy SR71. He flies at Mach speed, by the way. And we're going to get going here in about 5 seconds. So I need a favor. Let's get the horns up and rock. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of Paranormal tonight on Ghosts of the Great White North, which means our main man Merle is back. Yes, he is. And he's got the ghost moms with him. Then, in hour number 3, we're going to visit the swamp, where Swamp Dweller's going to have another spooky story for us. The fedora-wearing John Hudson comes on in to talk UFOs. Then we got Shirky Poo's News to round out the show. Now, at the middle of each month, we like to bring in the man, the myth, and the ghostly legend. We call him Merle around these parts, as he is our resident ghost hunter from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia. And together, we do a show called Ghosts of the Great White North, where we actually, well, one of the only times a month, talk paranormal and ghosts. Why? Well, because most of you like UFOs, cryptids, and everything else. But every now and again, we like a little sprinkle of the ghosts. Tonight, our special guests are Kelly, Julie. She says she's a hard J, not a soft J. And Liz. Emily will be joining us a little bit later because, she's got some mom activities. These ladies, they walk around and they do their thing and have their Starbucks and eat a scone every now and again. That's their morning gig, doing the mom thing, doing the wife thing. But then, when the night goes dark, these ladies paint their nails up, get their hair ready, put on their stealthy stilettos, and they are off and running to find the local and latest and the most awesome hauntings that we can bring together. So, Merle, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you back on Ghosts of the Great White North.
Doing very well, Dave. Looking forward to the show. How are you doing?
I am doing great, my friend. I am doing absolutely great, and you've got some wonderful guests for us tonight. Take the time to introduce these lovely ladies.
I can't top your introduction, but we do have the Ghost Moms, and you guys are from Missouri, correct?
Correct.
Correct. I have family ties to Missouri.
Nice.
Yep. I love your TikTok. I'll just throw it out there right now.
Thank you.
Your consistent reels on Instagram, those are top tier as well. And
Thank you very much.
I just want to dive into ghosts. And how did you guys get into it?
Oh, I'll take that one, I guess. Goodness, I've been interested in it since I was wee. My grandmother kind of had an ability, I think, to sense spirits. And I'm not going to say I inherited that, although I wish I had, but I definitely sensed what I felt were ghosts when I was a little girl. I really got into the paranormal by obviously watching all the shows. I kind of just got obsessed with it. And every time I would see a piece of equipment on a show, I would order it because I wanted to see how it worked and, you know, what it was all about. And I went to a graveyard with where my grandmother was buried, and I did an EVP session on a digital recorder and caught the voice of a toddler. And when the girls will agree with me, when you catch your first EVP, it changes everything because you know without a doubt you were the only one there. And I basically just kind of shared my enthusiasm for the paranormal. We all met through kindergarten. Our kids were in the same school, and naturally. And Liz happened to mention that she worked in a haunted church, and we were in New Orleans going on a haunted tour, and one thing led to another, and then we decided we needed to do an investigation, all of us together. And Ghost Moms was launched. It's been 2.5 years. I think we tried to figure out the exact start date, but it's roughly 2.5 years now.
I think it's 3.
Is it 3 already? Okay.
Since we did the first church investigation, yeah.
It flies by when you're having a ball, which we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What was your first investigation like together?
Liz, you take that.
I was at the church, and I don't think we really knew what to expect. And we're, you know, it's wee hours in the morning. We're in an empty church in the basement, and we had equipment going off, and we were all kind of freaking ourselves out. And then we had a point in the night where we had the ovulus, and all of a sudden it said humans outside, and we were like, all right, we're done for the night. But then after that, we're like, oh, we got to do this again. And we've kind of started doing it again. We, you know, every so many months, and now we're up to like twice a month. Yes, we love it. We're addicted.
We learned as we go. That's the key, because we were definitely, we were newbies out of the gate. We didn't really understand a lot of the lingo. We didn't understand basically the different realms we were dealing with. We didn't understand the different kinds of hauntings. And now that we've done more locally and across the country, we're becoming much more well-versed on what to expect. Sometimes we like to go in blind, but we at least have an idea of what we're doing, what we need to do. We can definitely detect different kinds of energy, and we know how to interact when we can, when to, determine those moments. And it's just fun. We have a really good energy together. I think that's the key. We get a lot of kid ghosts, which I find interesting. I think maybe it's a maternal energy that we project. I'm not sure, but we do often seem to encounter more childlike spirits. We know they could be demons. We're very well aware, but we're going to choose to think they're actually children.
What was your guys' first encounter as the team?
You mean any activity, or do you mean one that really spooked us?
One that really spooked you.
Kelly, what do you think?
I think the first one that really spooked up, we were obviously it's scary when you first start to just be in the dark. That is really scary. But at the same time, I think the first one that really scared us was we were in Beaumont, Kansas. It's this teeny tiny little town of 50. We're the only people in the hotel. The entire hotel, they left the key for us under the mat, actually, which was really funny. And we were sitting there, and the REM pods kept going off, and then all of a sudden things started moving, and we all just screamed, and it was a really intense session. And I think that was the first time we were all like, we need to keep doing this, and this is unbelievable because we can't believe how much action we had.
Mike, it's very addictive, especially once you actually start experiencing activity. You almost need it. So
you chase it. Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just had a pretty good investigation 2 weeks ago. I went up north past Dave's house, and man, the snow was still like 5.5 feet.
Oh my gosh.
And it was probably the coldest I've ever been on an investigation.
Yeah.
Child's play.
You can keep the snow, Dave. You can have it.
But worth it, right?
Absolutely.
I'm in the bush. I'm in the bush trying to find Sasquatch, and he's whining about a little snow.
And for Kelly.
Well, I mean, we joke, but winter investigations, you know, we just kind of bundle up. Most, as Mike knows, most of these places, a lot of them don't have heat, or if they do have heat, it's just one room, and you kind of have to come back and warm yourself and then go back and forth. We definitely prefer summer investigations because we can be wearing our tank tops and our leggings and much more relaxed and cool. Except if it's sweltering. We have had a couple where we couldn't even, I don't think we made it past.
We really like
morning.
spring and fall.
Yes, spring and fall. There we go.
I would say I've become more fair weathered ghost hunter as well. But if I have to go in the winter or in the rain, I will go.
Yes. Well, that's the thing too. The only one we've ever canceled was one going to this one place in Kansas, and they were forecasting, I think, 70 to 80 mile an hour winds that would go across the highway as we were driving. And even our husbands kind of put the kibosh on that, and we're like, "That's just dumb, you guys." And we were like, "We can make it. It's fine."
Right.
I want to ask you, ladies, and Kelly will start with you on this one. For those of you guys have personal lives. You're family people. You are mothers. You have this interest that you share together. But what about the people around you? Your husbands, your friends, their friends. The PTA. What do they all think of what you're doing?
Well, I think when you first tell people, they're a little taken aback because we don't look like the typical ghost hunters. But then everybody's really interested because everyone has a story. Everyone has a story of something that's happened to them. They'll either say, I'm an interior designer and I've told a client, and she'll say, oh my goodness, I have had a ghost in my house and I caught it on my Ring camera. Or, I've talked to friends and they'll say, oh my gosh, when I was a little girl, I had this happen to me. The crazy thing is, talking about like the PTA, we have an auction at our elementary school, and parties raise money. So you'll spend like $100 to go to a party, and one of the parties is getting to go ghost hunting with the ghost moms, and you can spend like $100 a ticket to go ghost hunting with us, and we sell that out in like minutes. So it's pretty fun. So I think people are taken aback at first, but then people are really curious and definitely want to go with us.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. Have you ever had any reaction from teachers or other parents like, I don't want your kid playing with mine because your mom is a ghost?
No, I think here's the deal. Because they aren't expecting us to say we're paranormal investigators, I think it opens the door that necessarily wouldn't have been open because maybe they were skeptical. Maybe they never even watched a paranormal show where they just thought there's no way any of that is true. And we kind of at least lend a little bit of intrigue to it. And so once they realize how interested and passionate we are, and they see our evidence that we post that we can explain, we're not going to shove ghost or real down their throats. We're simply going to say, we can't explain this. You're welcome to see us investigate and try to figure it all out. And I think they become even more interested. And then instead of shutting it down and being like, I don't want any of that, it opens the door to something that they maybe wouldn't have ever considered before.
Well, I used to do a tour at our local museum to help raise money for it. And one night, one of the museum curators actually caught the local deacons and the priest or the minister from the church actually going around with holy water, spraying it on all the buildings because they didn't want the dirty, grimy, evil ghosts around.
Oh my gosh!
And we were bringing demonic and negative energy to the area with the ghost tour. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
That was a good laugh. That was a good laugh.
I mean, bless their hearts.
Mm-hmm. That was an interesting question though, because my daughter always blabs about that her dad investigates or goes ghost hunting.
Uh-huh.
So now my daughter's dance school wants me to go investigate to their school with like my daughter's little dance team.
Yeah.
I've taken a Girl Scout troop before. I'm telling you, they get really excited once you tell them you do this.
Yep.
Emily has joined us.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Everybody had their hair down, so I put my hair down as well for tonight. But we continue on though. A funny story about that is I actually, for our ghost tour, had a group of women in for they had a once a month women's party get together on the weekend, and in one of the buildings that I had, it was me on a private tour. I'm the lead, taking them through all our historic buildings around here, and we get to this one building called the Post House. And there's this one ghost at the bottom of the stairs. Merle knows who it is. We call him the Blue Man. And this ghost is an absolute pervert. just a pervert. And so we're not getting any action on any of the machinery that we have there. And I had mentioned, I said, I'm surprised that he's not reacting because he actually loves women, and here we got 15 beautiful women in here, and he's not reacting. So they all of a sudden started getting real raunchy. Okay,
I mean, good for them.
I mean, good for them.
I need to go.
I was, I'm a good Christian boy. I was almost out the door with some of these sayings that they were using, but I could tell you this: all of a sudden, that room went nuts. Like there were four of the ladies sitting on a couch. They could feel him like rubbing their legs and rubbing their shoulders, and they were all like, "Oh yeah, come on over here, buddy. Let's have a three. We'll have a threesome right in front of everybody." Everything like this, right? And they were going, this ghost, the Blue Man was going absolutely haywire. We ended up spending like an hour and a half in this one room, because he wouldn't leave them alone. It was it was odd. It was odd.
That takes antagonizing to a whole new level. Liz is our antagonist. She likes to kind of like call him out, but not quite like that.
Yeah, I haven't got there. I mean, I don't know.
Well, different situation though. When you ladies go to investigate, I always like to ask this, and I know Merle's going to give me the eye roll here. Okay, but what is your purpose of doing it? Because I think one of the biggest problems we have in the paranormal world is a lot of people do it for fun. A lot of people do it because they're weekend warriors. A lot of people are trying to solve mysteries. Where do you four stand on this?
I think right in the middle. Maybe.
Yeah.
We're really curious. That's probably first and foremost. Like we pick places based on the level of activity, the reported activity, the history of the house, the history of whatever the building is. And then we're very respectful. That's out of that. I mean, we'll never go in guns blazing. We're going to do this. You guys have to respond to us. Like we always kind of ask if we can be there. We are very receptive to different energies in each room. And I think we have a lot of questions, and we don't necessarily have all the answers, but we have things that we can't explain, like I said, and we have a lot of fun doing it. I mean, laughter through fear is actually an amazing emotion, because when you're that scared, to be able to break it up in a moment of levity is the way we keep going, because otherwise it's terrifying. I mean, that adrenaline rush is just incredible. It's like Kelly always says, it's like a roller coaster. But when you, like in that room, once the women are there and they're getting touched, that energy in that room, that's like very palpable. And you need those moments to kind of like take a break in order to keep doing it, because, it takes a lot out of you.
And I think once you've had like a good piece of evidence, you're always going to just want to do it again. Like it's such an amazing experience. The rush of having that just kind of like evidence it's such a cool thing. And then you're just hooked after that.
And you get braver, and then you want more, kind of like drugs.
Tasting
our bar is really high. Yeah, that's the problem.
It is a high. It is a high. Yeah. I get the high going into the forest looking for Sasquatch. Like I cannot wait to get into the forest on the weekend to see if my gifting site has been touched. We just found an area with a bunch of footprints in it.
Oh.
And I went back there the next day, and the mirror that I set up was on the ground, but it was like shoved underground. The handle was underneath some grass, and I don't know. I didn't have a trail cam up there, so we have a trail cam up there right now investigating it. So, but the idea is we got about 3.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. It's Ghosts of the Great White North with our main man Merle and the Ghost Bombs tonight. Kelly, Julie, Liz, and Emily. For you ladies, when you pick a location, do you do it? Do you just search a map, or do you search an area or a town and say, look, there's some cool stuff happening here. Let's go check it out. Is that kind of how you're doing it? Just on spontaneity?
Yeah, this is Kelly. This is
a Kelly question.
Well, the investigations usually start with me. I like to listen to podcasts on, like haunted places is one I used to really like, and also crime junkies and places like that. And so we will go out and find, or I'll listen to a podcast about a place, and then I'll do some research on it on the internet. And, we get really excited. I love all the little hunts we do, but when we get to go to the Conjuring House, or we get to go to Waverly Hills Sanatorium, with these huge known places with a lot of activity. I mean, there's a lot of digging and investigation, pre-investigation there, but it's so fun, and it's such adrenaline rush even just learning about that. But that's how we pick a place. So we'll find a place, and then Liz finds us a dinner place, and Julie brings all her equipment. She's our mom, and she takes care of us. And Emily's our scaredy cat, which we love. We need it for sure.
Yeah. Some of our places, though, have been fun because we've been approached by people. So, for example, we were at a party that was like an auction party for our kids' school, and this man came up and said, "Hey, you guys paranormal investigate, right?" And he wanted us to come and investigate his bar. And then we had some great things happen at that bar. So those are always really fun too, because they're not known by everyone out there.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those have been kind of fun to investigate too.
Do you find a lot of those locations, Emily, like with the bar, they want that confirmation because it just adds to the legend to help bring people in when your servers or your waiters or your bartenders could sit there and say, yeah, this place is haunted. We've had glasses, come off the shelf, or we've had, don't sit in that stool over there. That belongs to Big Black Jack over there or whatever.
I think sure. I do think there's some of that. And then I just think people, the more you tell them what you do, I'm so surprised at how many people say, oh, I've had this experience, or, oh, I own a haunted bar, or my church is haunted, or, you'd be surprised at how many people have had some sort of experience and are really excited to talk about it and fascinated as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much that way. Very much that way. We got about 30 seconds to go here before we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. So I'm going to take it this way. When we come back from the break, I want to hear some of your great stories of hauntings and adventures that you had. I know our audience would love to hear some of your stories and evidence you've collected over the years, and how, you go about conducting your investigations. We love good ghost stories around here, and we love it when it all comes down to our main man Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and tonight's special guest out of the beautiful state of Missouri. We have the Ghost Bombs, Kelly, Julie, Liz, and Emily. We all got our hair down tonight. We're free flowing on the ghost talk right here on Spaced Out Radio. So stay tuned. The second half hour of the show starts right after this break on the mighty SOR. Strong first half hour, ladies. Strong first half hour.
Thanks. That was very fun.
And I said more than 20 words, Dave. Are you proud of me?
You know what? This is 2 months in a row now that we've done this shift where you hit your word count early.
I'm done. I'm just listening now.
You get to tell us one of your scary adventures too. We'd love to
I
hear.
know.
But I think next segment we're gonna jump right into the Conjuring house.
Oh, we could talk about that for the rest of the show.
Sounds good. And your ghost adventures, connections. We got lots to talk about.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen Sasquatch?
Me? Yes.
Okay.
Actually,
he has too.
I'll tell you this story. It involved Merle. Our audience has heard this many a time, but in 2018, Merle came up here, and about 25 miles from my house, Canada's largest unsolved mass murder happened, where 52 people died when a bomb went off on a plane in 1965.
Oh wow!
And it's still an open case today. They know the suspect is dead. They know they have 4 suspects, and they were all on the plane. They just don't know which one, and so it's still an open case that'll probably remain unsolved. But nonetheless, Merle wanted to go out there and go investigate this area, and at that time, I don't think it had ever been investigated.
Oh wow!
Not that we know of. And so when you go, like, this is right in the middle of the forest, ladies. Like, up here, like, my town is 2,000 people. You go 3 miles into the forest, you don't see anything, you don't hear anything. If you see another car or truck during the day, it's a miracle. And so, like I said, we travel out the 25 miles. We bring our buddy Mark out as our armed guard because there's a lot of animals out there that want to kill you. And I'm not even joking when I say that. And so Mike does his investigation for about an hour and a half, and then he decides that he asked me if there was any other wreckage around, and I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, let's check some of these trails. So he leads away down this deer trail, and we walk through these trees. It opens up to this meadow, and Merle and I go across the meadow to this giant boulder, and Mark stays behind because he has a good line of sight with his rifle in case any predatory animals come. And so we're standing there kind of looking around, and all of a sudden we hear
Sure did.
coming from right in front of us.
Audibly with your own ears?
Yeah. So we're still on paranormal mode. And I said to Mike, did you hear that? And he goes, hear what, Dave? Because when he's in investigative mode, he's like total mall cop, right?
We don't use that phrase anymore, Dave. We don't use it. It's not real.
You look like a mall cop.
I know. But anyways, then it happens again. Right? So we're like, oh, well, whatever. So we go back to the crash site. Mark, our armed guard, goes into this cul-de-sac in the trees, a real small cul-de-sac that they made for the recovery vehicles. Because in 1965, there were not even roads into this area where that plane crashed. There's one way in and one way out. And so Mark heads down there. Mike goes to this piece of wreckage and starts reinvestigating. And then whatever it was that was talking to us snuck up behind Mike, and about less than 20 feet behind Mike starts like stomping his feet and shaking branches and grunting and groaning and everything. So he gets freaked out. I'm in between them. He gets freaked out, and I yell over at Mark. I said, get up here. Mike's got something up here.
Right.
And Mark's got his back to us, and Mike's coming behind me, and Mark puts his hand up like this and takes his backpack off and raises his rifle right straight ahead of him, because Mark's the type of dude, he's been in the forest for like 35 years.
Right.
He's been a hunting guide, a trapper, a tracker of a lot of animals that can kill you. And to this day, he will say he doesn't know what that was coming at him, but he knows it was on 2 feet.
Oh.
And so we had the creature behind Merle, we had the one at Mark, and the exit is in between. They forced us.
Goodness.
We got 20 seconds.
Hardcore skeptic. And that stuff's not real, but it happened.
You
Yeah.
saw it.
We got 10 seconds. Want to remind our audience the super chat is open. It's a great way to support us. And thank you to all the veterans who are out there tuning us in. You always have a safe home. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with Ghosts of the Great White North tonight. Our buddy Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia is with us. And we have some special guests out of the state of Missouri. We have Kelly, Julie, Liz, and Emily. They call themselves the Ghost Moms. Yes, Starbucks by day, ghost hunters by night. Glad to have them here. And Merle, take it away.
We're going to let you girls take it away with talking about the Conjuring House. I've been dying to hear your play-by-play of this investigation.
Have you investigated there?
I have not.
Yet?
That's a little too far, but I have been looking into it for possibly 2023.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I can start, and then we can kind of just work our way around. But
Go ahead, Julie.
I think top three investigations for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just there was such a buildup because obviously we had to travel to it, and our schedules are crazy. We have 10 kids between us, so we typically do these ghost hunts on weeknights, and so this was our first take off on a Friday, come back, on a Sunday. Actually, we came back on we did come back on Sunday. Yeah, but we were like catching a 4 a.m. flight, and we investigated that night. So we hit the ground running, basically. And we had packed sleeping bags because we couldn't bring our cots. We typically would, sleep on cots when we need to. But we brought our sleeping bags, and we didn't know what to expect. We knew the history of the house. We had read everything. I've interviewed Andrea Perrin before. So we definitely had an idea of what we might encounter, but I don't think we were prepared for actually being in the house, feeling that energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was more impressed with the current owners because they've been investigating in the paranormal world for 10 years, I think, possibly more, but they're realists. I mean, he has done his homework, and he will tell you what he thinks is real and what he thinks is more emphasized by all the movies and obviously the lore that's around the house. A lot of that actually isn't even true. And so once you really kind of break it down and you get to the facts, we had more activity occur from things that we didn't know were around the house. We didn't realize that there was a giant that lived in the city and we think we caught him on SLS camera. It was really interesting to get in there and really decipher fact from fiction in terms of what you see in the movie and what you think. And then once you're there, what's actually in the house.
Because Bathsheba, she's buried somewhere else. Close.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, she's buried at a graveyard. And she never, the whole witch, and a lot of it, yeah, it depends on who you ask, because some people they feel very strongly about what they believe. But I think it was just more interesting. Like they said, we've never felt anything negative here. They felt a lot of energy, and obviously they've seen apparitions and things have moved, and there's a lot of activity in the house, but it's not negative. It's not this cursed house. The parents had their experience, which was totally separate from the house itself. And the house has been around since the late 1800s. Is that right?
I think 1826 or something like that.
Yeah. And And so you can only imagine how many generations of families have lived here, died here. I mean, there's a lot of spirits there. It's not just like one that's cursed and haunting or a witch. Although our kids were really scared about that because of the movie. They were concerned that we were going to be possessed by a witch and come and try to kill them.
Would make for a good prank.
We had to assure them that would not happen. My daughter's really into like spells and, incantations and protection. And she made us some protection amulets to take with us just to be safe.
What sort of things did you have happen there when you were there for one night? Yeah.
It was one night. We kind of right from the get, like we got there and we got a tour, and then we kind of, walked around the exterior of the property some, and then we started in the library, which was the parents' bedroom.
Right.
With the parent family. And like right away, we had like motion detectors set up that started going off. And then this I thought was interesting. On our SLS camera, it was like mapping something on the bookshelf where a REM pod was going off, and then a book just went poof, right off the shelf. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
And the SLS looked like it was climbing the bookshelf, like all over where we were.
Yeah.
And in the basement, there's actually the house used to be a daycare, believe it or not, back in the day. I don't know what parent would want to take their kid there, but they did apparently. And in the basement, they have this little area where the kids would draw on the walls, and they drew. If you ever watched The Haunting of Hill House, they drew what looked like a bent neck lady, like stick figure, but then the head's to the side.
The crooked man.
Yes. And the owner, again, told us that there was actually a giant that lived in the city or in the town. And so when he came into the house, he would have to duck, to get through the doorways or even to stand. He was too tall for the ceiling, so he'd have to stand with his head ducked. And we caught this on the SLS. We caught this really tall figure on a blank wall in the library, and head was completely at a 90-degree angle, just like that. So we think it was the giant. We don't think it was.
Children in the daycare were always like drawing stick figures of a bent neck.
Yes.
So when you're in the basement, which this part is just crazy, especially as a parent, the house is very rustic. Like it is for only being like 30, 40 years since the parent family was there. I was picturing a house from like the like at least have 60s modern, but it was way more rustic than that. And so this basement, you would never think that you put your child in somebody's daycare in that basement.
Go to the dungeon.
Yeah. There's a well down there.
Yeah, and you can see the kids' drawings down there of the bent neck.
And let's talk about the snakes.
Oh yeah,
Emily was more scared of the snakes than the ghosts.
I really was. I don't like snakes.
Snakes are involved. You just gotta burn down the house. That's it. That's it. There is no need for snakes to be around.
Hanging off the stone wall, like they shed their skin, and
Ew.
Kelly saw one too.
And then one was like crawling into the crawl space between the basement and the first floor.
But in the basement,
it is crazy active down there.
We 2 motion detectors going off at the same time.
2 different corners.
In 2 different corners. And then there's this really old, very, very heavy table that we were standing close to. And I heard it move.
Well, we asked, could you please move something? Because we're trying to interact with whatever was setting off the motion detectors.
Right. And then because we went back and listened. And so 45 seconds later, you hear this heavy piece of furniture move, and Liz goes, "Did someone just hit my leg?" And it was the table.
Yeah, just had in the back of my leg,
shoved into her,
slightly pushed into her. Not like knocked her over or anything like that. But none of us touched it. We were close.
We weren't
to it,
near it.
And I was the furthest person. I was the furthest person back, so there was no one behind me but the table. But I wasn't standing against the table, and all of a sudden I felt it shove into my leg. So that was really strange and awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And terrifying because the lights are off. You know that you see these night vision videos, and it's fine because you can see everything and it looks great. But when it's pitch black, and you can't see your hand in front of your face, it is nothing short of terrifying.
Yeah,
You must think about the Hollywood movie a few times when you're.
Yes, totally did.
Yeah.
Well, Liz and Emily slept because we just slept in our sleeping bags on top of the beds, and Liz and Emily slept in the room where was it Andrea was like pulled out of the bed.
Yeah.
And
Oh wow.
they slept in that bed, so believe me, that was going through their mind.
Yeah, I didn't take my boots off because I was like, well, my ankles are gonna get grabbed. I at least want to my boots.
At least you have some tread if you need to run away.
Right.
Well, and the clapping game in the film, or the clapping where he's trying to find whomever, and he finds, anyway, we were communicating with the motion detector and trying to like see if we could get answers or use it to communicate. And it had just gone silent for a good 5-10 minutes. And then Liz decided to play the clapping game. And the second she did, it just totally came to life. Like something came right back in the room.
Oh my God.
And that's the moment you jump. You can't, even if you are expecting it and you know it's coming, you still jump.
Oh yeah, you're always on guard doing
Always.
especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
It is a really
Highly
cool.
recommend.
Light flashes that there weren't windows, so there was no external source that we could find for these light flashes. That was very, very bizarre.
And there were shadows on the ceiling. So that room that they slept in, again, all the windows are blacked out. They have blackout shades everywhere. There's no light getting in, and all the lights were off. We didn't have any equipment on that had any sort of light source. And there were shadows on the ceiling, and they weren't our eyes playing tricks on us because we were all seeing the exact same shapes, and they were closing in on the ceiling up in front of us. Because at this point, we're all in the bed together because we're so scared. But it made a great vantage point for looking at the ceiling, because they did say a lot of people go into this bedroom and they have a loss of time. And what they think is 5 minutes turns out to be 3 hours. So we wanted to get in there and just kind of see what could possibly happen. And the shadows were enough. Once we saw the shadows and realized they were kind of converging in the middle, and then a motion detector went off in the doorway, and then a light flashed in the other room. And at that point we were like, okay, we need a break, because it's a lot.
It takes your energy.
And you really have to you really know you're a close-knit team when all 4 of you are willing to climb into a full-size bed.
Yeah.
We're not opposed to spooning each other when we need to.
Yeah. There's something there, though. I mean, the energy there is unbelievable. And supposedly they're investigating because they think there's a buried bodies from the war there. Remember they were talking about that? And, there's so many things that have happened in that area that it's kind of interesting, because the light flashes and the weird shadows and the paranormal and the cemetery. I mean, it's
one giant storm of activity. Yeah.
It was a lot to take in.
Highly recommend it. It's worth the trip.
It's bucket list. Definitely.
So you guys would go back if given the opportunity?
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
100%.
But I have a rule. So we have this humongous master list of places that we want to investigate. Obviously on social media, so many teams out there and all the places they're investigating. And if we haven't gone there, or if it's anywhere we could get to mildly easily, I write it down. So we have a list of several hundred places. And I do think we need to exhaust all of our options before we start repeating, because again, it's really hard to coordinate our schedules, and to get this twice a month that's gravy. If we get more than that, then it's just amazing. But we really have to kind of make a plan and a concerted effort to get all of our households situated so that we can take off, because we'll drive through. We'll get up at 6 a.m. and drive back to get back in time for carpool, or after 2 hours of sleep. It's worth it though, because again, this is just something that it's not only that we love each other and we want to be together and have a night out. It's that we're kind of part of something bigger than us, by doing this. And we like the idea of really trying to figure out what's out there, because the more we investigate, the more questions we have.
So I got a question for you, considering that, every now and again I like to slip one in. The question is, for you ladies have investigated a lot of the bigger named areas, like you said, the Conjuring House, Waverly Hills, which made me eye roll because everybody has to have that on their list. But what do you prefer? Do you prefer going to these paranormal hotspots that everybody and their dog and cat has investigated, or do you like to find that more unknown, intimate haunting that nobody has ever investigated, that somebody calls you in and says, hey, I got some weird stuff happening here, and I would love for you ladies to come in and check it on out? What's more fun for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say for myself a mix. I mean, it is nice if we have been invited in people's homes before and we have investigated there, but it's a very it's very personal to that person, and it's their space and it's their family space, and so it's a different vibe than when you go into places that are bigger and they're known for their investigations. It's kind of nice to have the comparison of the two, to get like the evidence in one place and then the evidence in a bigger place too. But I don't know. It would be hard for me to only do ones that are in people's homes. I like it sprinkled in, but I wouldn't want to always just be in somebody else's space either.
Well, we went into this house that's really close to all of us, like close in proximity, and it was a Civil War house. It was they had indigenous people that they were trying to turn into Mormons, right? Wasn't that what they were doing? Yeah, I mean, there was all this crazy history there. And we had a ton of equipment going off, but the owners were right there with us, which was great. But I think if we had just been alone in that house, we really would have dug in a little more. We didn't want to maybe scare them or, really.
Yeah, it changes.
So we didn't really push the communication as much as if we were by ourselves, So in some ways, I'd like to do that personal ones or the unknown, but it's better when you're maybe there.
Yeah.
It's also a responsibility to do the private ones.
Yeah. I'm not saying. Go ahead. Sorry, Merle.
I was just going to say, I like doing the private ones because it's a super controlled environment. But again, a lot of responsibility. But we're also there to help the people too.
Yeah.
But,
I guess where I was going with this wasn't so much on a personal level, going into someone's house. I love stories of going into a small town, a rural town that's say 80, 90 miles away, because all of these little towns have their own legends that never get investigated, but everybody in that town believes the legends. And there are so many great stories out there that nobody has ever told publicly.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, if you gave me a choice of Waverly Hills or some little hick town in whether it's in Canada or the United States, but has this legend of a monster that crawls through the tunnels of town, I want that monster with the tunnels of town.
Yeah.
I don't care about Waverly Hills because it's just a destination area. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, okay, or anything like that, but I think that the paranormal, I think we limit ourselves at times to these popular locations.
Well, the majority of our investigations have been at the smaller places.
Wow.
So, we've thrown in a couple of big, well-known haunted properties. But typically, and now it's funny that there's so many paranormal shows, the places that we found are being found by the shows. But our Malvern Manor in Iowa is one of our absolute favorites. And it's in this tiny little town. Liz, I don't know how many, it's not many people.
It's not many, but it has does it have a stoplight? I'm not sure, but we were at the house and I watched a tractor drive down the street.
Yeah. Small. It's an abandoned nursing home, and it's got so much history to it, and just the people locally, Kansas and Iowa teams have gone, but it's not so developed, I guess. I don't want to call any property developed in terms of, but it does become a business for some of these properties for sure. You know, they charge a lot of money and it helps them keep with the upkeep of the property. I get that. But I always prefer, like, we had a friend who thinks his fishing shack is haunted, and it is this old, 1900 cabin that they use as a fishing shack, and it's just out in this little town in Kansas, and we're going to go out in a couple of weeks hopefully and just not necessarily spend the night, 'cause I don't like spiders either, but at least check it out because we'll investigate till 2 or 3 in the morning. We always find activity typically picks up, and Mike, you might agree, 11, 12-ish, and then by 1 o'clock, if nothing has happened all night long, it's probably not going to. Like, we kind of now we can kind of figure out the timeline of the night ahead of us, or, decide whether to call
I
it.
fully agree.
Yeah.
10-1 for me. I think that's the best.
Yeah. 1 is typically the witching hours.
Maybe they got
See,
it too.
And I love going out in the forest at dark.
Oh, see.
Yeah. There is nothing scarier than going out into the forest in dark.
I'm sure. I don't know if yeah, that's a whole new level.
Oh, yeah,
I'll tell you a quick freaky story, because we only got like 3 minutes before we got to go to break. Real cool story. So my buddy Paul, aka the Lip Blade, in the chat room, when we go on an investigation, he always waxes his mustache. It looks fantastic. And I have my son, who's 8, in the back of my Jeep. And so him and I, or us three, we go, and usually about 30, 40 minutes in, my son's already passed out, like some good he is on the investigation side, right? So this area, and Merle knows it well, is very, very haunted. This area is very haunted with a lot of First Nations, a lot of the Gold Rush Trail that started in California going up to Alaska. There's a lot of ghosts around here. So we come off this one road, and we decide to take this other logging road, and it's still early. It's about 9:45. Sun is snoring in the back, and we start heading up this road, and all of a sudden Paul starts getting freaked out. He's like, we can't go any further. He goes, I feel something coming on me. Okay, I'm breathing into it. It feels like the spirit of my dad. And I said, okay, so what's coming on? And he says, my dad says, we don't want to go any further. There's something up there we don't want to see.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's breathe into this. What do you think it is? All he would say is, it's bad.
Wow.
So I tend to lean with the spiritual side, that if there is spirit saying that there's danger, let's not go there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. A lot of people will run into that, but when you're dealing with something, like if it's a ghost, hell, I'll go. But when you're dealing with something that could be a lot more drastic, like a Sasquatch or a dogman or something along those lines, I'm getting the hell out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't blame you.
So we come off. So we turn our vehicle around, get to back to the main logging road, and out of the blue, my son sits up and he says, "Daddy, it's time to go home because it's not safe for us here." And then he falls right back asleep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, he had an angel talking to him.
Peace
So
out.
I took that as a sign.
Mhm.
And as we're pulling out, so we hit the road. Okay, let's go. We're in a safe zone now. And as we're leaving that area, here comes on my stereo Godsmack's Voodoo song, right? So like everything was just kind of lining up on the freaky scale.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just, but
let's
there
do
are
that.
times you have to pay attention to the signs.
I'm glad
you
you did.
Yeah. Well, 15 seconds left. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We are having an amazing show tonight with our man Merle. Yes, he only drinks Merlot. It's on investigation. It's true. It's true. Only drinks Merlot from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and from the beautiful state of Missouri. We have the Ghost Moms, Liz, Emily, Julie, and Kelly. When we return, more ghost stories with the Ghost Moms. We'll take questions from our audience in our chat room on YouTube when we come back on Spaced Out Radio for hour number 2 next.
Yep.
All right, we're clear. We got 6 minutes.
Oh,
Actually, Dave, I've taken from the private stock. This is an American cola that we do not get up in Canada.
fancy.
It is, what is it? It's a Coke Zero, but with cherry and vanilla notes.
Ah,
I love
I'll be right back. I gotta go call John, my UFO guy. I'll be right back.
Ooh, I
Yes.
love it. That's
We-
amazing.
We
Mike,
don't have one.
so what's an outside? I've always wanted to do an outside investigation, but I've always been worried it won't with containment, or how do you tell us about when you do an outside investigation?
Most of mine are indoors, but
Okay.
actually, coincidentally, the last outdoor investigation we did, so it was in a town called Barkerville, which is an old, take the town like Deadwood or Tombstone, but put it up in the Canadian Rockies. And it was a gold rush town. And one of the stories was one of the Chinese merchants there, he got stabbed in the neck outside of his shop. And we were with the curator of the site, and he's like, it happened because we had an old map, like we could see where the old stores were in the 1800s.
Right.
So we put our REM pod down, and we have one of those little EMF lanterns.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't windy, it was just cold as hell.
Right.
If it wasn't windy, I would have canceled doing anything like that.
Yeah.
Right.
My rule of thumb is if my audio recorder is going to be all whooshy sounding, then nope, too much.
Right.
And no, we had perfect weather, and we just did a straight EVP session in -15. I don't know what that is in American because we're Celsius up here.
Oh yeah,
That still sounds cool.
And then
it's cold though.
thankfully- Yep. So we did that for about how many minutes? Probably 15 minutes to half an hour. I'm just shaking like this while asking questions.
Right.
And my Google, because I had my iPhone out with translator on, and I was trying to do Mandarin because that's what he spoke.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
And yeah, but my battery was just absolutely taking a crap kicking with the weather.
Yeah.
And yeah, if it's controlled and not windy, it's pretty easy to do.
Did you get any EVPs?
I have not gone through the rest of it yet.
That's the hardest part, is finding time to go through all the audio.
Yep.
We probably have how many hours, Emily, that we haven't listened to?
Oh God.
I know. We will.
We need to go through.
No,
a
we do
decade.
need to be better about that.
I will plug my headphones into my iPhone, put them on when I need to like work around the house, and I'll just listen as I go at least, and turn the volume up, and just try to get through some of it that way. Because once you know what to listen for, it's pretty easy. Like you can fly through it. You just have to hear it. You can't just fast forward.
My friend who lives in the province next door to British Columbia, Alberta, he lives in a town called Edmonton. And I send him all of my audio, all of it.
He listens?
Do it for you?
He does. He listens to it because my idea with that and his idea with that is he's not on the investigation, so he's a third party. He's non-partial. I'll be like, okay, I was there, Dave was there, and Julie was there. If there's any other voices, can you please tag that for me?
Right.
Nice. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. That's really nice that he does that. He probably
Yeah.
enjoys it too.
He loves
You
it.
would think Emily's a ghost.
He's been helping me. We've been investigating together. Obviously, we live very far apart. Oh God, over 10 years now, easy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah, the trick with the EVPs is all the noises
yes,
that you make. Like Emily always makes these noises that sound like ghosts. And then Kelly's stomach always rumbles.
it always sounds like the demon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They play, is it a ghost or Emily, or is it a demon or Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Kelly's stomach.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Merle,
Yes.
I got something for you and the ladies.
Mm.
We have a new. One of our fans has our new security dog for the show, named Lola, and this is Joe, who's a longtime listener, and this is Lola.
Oh.
I like Lola.
That's the official security guard of Spaced Out Radio.
Yeah. Oh,
She's
she's
so cute. She's so cute.
Oh,
We
there
have a lot of dogs between us. We have what?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Almost as much. We have as many dogs as we do kids almost.
Nice.
Aw. That's fun.
No, I asked you about that though because there's this place called Seven Sisters Road in Nebraska, and
I've
this
heard of
guy
that.
killed all his sisters, and drug them up the hill, and I really want to go to it, but I'm always worried that it's going to be without containment. It's like, how do you really know where to do it or what's going on, and are you only going to be out there an hour if it's super hot or the weather's not right, or I don't know.
How I tend to do too, because we did another outdoor investigation at a place in a city called Abbotsford. It's a haunted road called Keeping Road.
Uh-huh.
There are tons of. You see a lady in white. You see a ghost dog chase you. You see a man hanging if you flash your lights.
Oh, wow.
It has so many urban legends.
I grew
And
up.
we've been doing experiments there at nighttime.
Yeah.
And what I find works to make yourself aware of contamination is if you always have a static camera on your entire area.
Okay.
And hold on to your audio recorder, like don't put it down or anything.
Okay.
And just call out every little thing you hear. If it's the branch, the wind, because when you're reviewing your stuff, you'll
5 seconds, guys. 5 seconds. Here we go.
Okay, that's good advice.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, KPNL, and TalkStream Live. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Durang. Durang is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Ghosts of the Great White North. We got Merle here. Yeah, Merle's hanging out with us from the Paranormal Road Trippers based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and he is my co-host for this segment per month. Tonight, from Missouri, we have the Ghost Moms. We have Julie, Liz, Emily, and Kelly hanging on out with us, telling us all their awesome ghost stories. And by the way, ladies, in the morning, I will be on radio in St. Louis talking about
nice. All right.
about UFOs. I will.
Amazing.
I will. I'm looking forward to that. I think about 10:25 my time, so 1:25 your time. I will be on the radio there on. I'm trying to figure out the radio station here. KFTK 97.1 FM.
Okay.
I will be breakdown of UFOs. So yes, 1:25 Eastern tomorrow. So that's 10:25 my time. There we go. There we go. We got a St. Louis connection there. We're going to be on the radio there. All right. Let's get to some ghost stories here because you ladies have had some intriguing encounters over the 3 years you've been investigating as a team. Do you have an encounter that just absolutely freaked you ladies out? You're like, you know what? I don't even know this is worth it or something along those lines.
Yes.
Where you don't know if it's worth it.
It's
always worth it.
Emily, tell us the story. Don't let the other.
Emily's the scaredy cat. Don't forget.
That's perfect.
This was earlier on when we were a little bit newer, but we were
I'm going to get you to move a little bit closer to your microphone if you don't mind.
Manor and Edinburgh Manor's in Iowa. Yeah. And we were in the basement and we were the only ones in the house and we just heard so many voices upstairs and it sounded like a cocktail party upstairs. And you just couldn't deny it. And I had never heard anything so loud in an investigation with my own ears, and it really freaked me out,
It was
because
scary.
that was just a first time for hearing, and I don't think we've heard anything like it since. And I think we even called it quits shortly after, because it was late, but too, it was just, we were so freaked out. It just was bizarre.
It was full on conversations.
Yeah.
Male and female voices. They were
Nobody
muffled because they were above us, but we had we were locked in, and the owner of the building lives way off property. Like, it's not like she was even in the vicinity, and we knew we were the only ones in there. It wasn't, there was no other option
up there. Yeah. Like literally a cocktail party. It didn't sound scary. It was just, I had never experienced something with my own ears like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago, I had that exact same experience in a theater.
Oh,
Ooh.
We heard, so one of the stories of the theater is you hear the actors and actresses getting ready in the back, and they're from the 1800s, early 1900s. And I know Jake's listening because he donated to SOR for Dave, and he was with me. He was helping us film and investigating with us, and we couldn't stop hearing people talking, laughing, and having like it sounded like a party in the back of the green room.
It's wild.
wild.
The trip, yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It's very different from EVPs. I mean, EVPs can get you, but that's obviously, even if you do a playback in the moment, it still is like after the fact. So it is intriguing, and it can scare you, but it's not like that actual audible noise when no one else should be talking.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest why are we doing this moment? Like actual like a lot of people want to know the scary stories, like something where it's like a holy crap moment.
Liz, okay, so I'll preface this by saying Liz has out of the gate said she wants her hair pulled. Like, she wants it pulled twice. True. Once to like feel it, and the second time for affirmation, right?
But not out. I don't want it out of my head. I just want it like I'm here with you kind of affirmation.
But she finally got that, and it spooked her, and I didn't think it was going to spook her, and it did.
But it did.
It really did. And I was, it was in Villisca, Iowa, and we were upstairs in the children's room, and children had been murdered there, and I don't love that kind of history. But I was standing. I kind of made it's kind of become like a little joke about, am I going to get my hair pulled? And then I was standing with my back to a closet. And all of a sudden, I felt my hair, and it pushed the scarf, because it was winter. The scarf was up, and it pushed the scarf off my shoulders.
Wow!
It freaked me out. I was distracted. I was like paying attention to something else when it happened. So, but it was pretty awesome too.
I think when we were in Beaumont, and this was one of our first investigations that really sealed the deal for us wanting to do this. But again, made us realize, okay, this isn't a joke. We were in this bedroom of this cowboy and his room that he stayed in, and we had a flashlight. There was a mini fridge that was unplugged, so no motor. We had a flashlight, and we're really there's a lot of controversy around the use of flashlights, to communicate the on and off and the touch. So we don't really use flashlights in that way, just because we can't tell for sure. And we're always trying to debunk. I'm like the number one debunker. I'm going to say it's something else before I'll say it's a ghost. So I will always look for the probable cause. But we had a flashlight that wasn't even like turned on, it was off, because we had just put it on the middle of the fridge while we were doing it. And I think we had like the direct link on the bed, and we were trying to communicate that way. And we had a motion detector in the other room. And I mean, just as fast as nothing was happening, all of a sudden the motion detector goes off, and we, of course, jumped, and we kind of stood up to peek around the corner. And as we did, and we're a good 4 feet from the bed, the flashlight flies off the fridge and hits the floor and turns on. Wow. And at that point, we're all just like, holy crap. Because you think it's going to happen. You hope it's going to happen. But once it happens, it's just jarring. And I mean, in such a good way, but that made us realize, like, wow, this is something legit and we need to do this again. But at this moment, let's go back and all get in that king bed together because we were terrified.
Yeah. And we did in the same bed that night. We had a whole we all went,
safety in numbers.
We're all the same. We want it to happen. We pray for it to happen. And then when it happens, it's like, why did that happen?
Yes.
I know. You're like,
you're scared. And then it's kind of like one of those things where it's so scary. And then once you've had time to like process it and the adrenaline's dropped down, then
You want more to happen.
You're like, oh yeah, now let's go back.
And Mike, the bar gets higher. That's the problem almost too, is that once you have a level of activity and then maybe you introduce more equipment or, try to heighten some sort of experience. Once it gets heightened, then the rest of it, which is still interesting, isn't quite what you want. And then you really like, our holy grail is an apparition. Like we all just go into it trying to clear our minds, hope, look, it's all peripheral almost, I think. But we try our best to be aware to that possibility to hopefully welcome it. But like at Waverly, which yes, I agree with you, is definitely it's known for its activity, and there is 100% something there. But I got really the fifth floor where the nurse hung herself, I got really nauseous, and it was really sad. And Kelly can tell you the story of how we think the nurse showed herself to us, but I got physically sick, and that never happens before. And I do think at times like that, the energy is just overwhelming. And I don't know if something's projecting on you or wants you out, or it's just something in our world we don't normally experience. So when it is projected on us, it causes a negative reaction. But I had to get out of that room. Kelly can tell you how the nurse showed herself.
No, well, there are rumors that she killed herself on the 5th floor because the urban legend is that she was pregnant, but the people that work there think she probably just had tuberculosis and was like, I just don't want to deal with this. But anyway, we had the SLS camera out, and we just had it on like the exposed pipes where she supposedly had killed herself. And Julie, did you say you can use my energy? Because I can't remember. I feel like
yes, and because again, you get caught up in it, and you just think, because the motion detectors were going off, so we knew something was right there where she was, and I was just, because we were trying to kind of relate to her, like if she was pregnant, oh, we're so sorry if you felt like you couldn't continue on. You must have been so sad. Do you need to use my energy to help communicate or to help you communicate with us? And right where she was hung, Kelly was we were getting nothing on the SLS, like nothing.
And then we're like, will you show yourself to us? And all of a sudden it was just this blip of this person. And I not that everything has a crooked neck, but it looked very much like someone was hanging from that on the SLS camera. And then it went away as fast as it came. So it wasn't, because we are good about debunking, like, I think SLSs pick up chairs and they pick up tables. And if you really want to, you can make people think that that's entity or something like that. But this was there and gone within, 10 seconds.
And we could never pick it back up.
Never came back.
Anything else before that, or for the rest of the night, really, did it?
Yeah.
That was it.
The first full body apparition I ever saw in an investigation caught me off guard because I wasn't even thinking about it, and gave me quite the startle. We were on a paddle wheel boat, like an old 1800s paddle wheel boat,
Cool.
and the team I was with, they're like, "Hurry up, get up here. We need you to interview the people," because I was supposed to be doing an interview, but I'm tardy. I'm a tardy person. I don't care. I'm always late. That's how I roll. So I'm scuttling up there, right? And all of a sudden, when I'm going by the captain's quarters, I see this tall man in an old 1800s captain's uniform step out, look at me, and then just vanish.
Oh, that's
amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
I wish I had a body cam back on, because it would have been on, because I always have a body cam on.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, I can see it clear as day, and it just creeps me out.
Oh, yeah.
So you were looking at it full on?
Yeah, and I wasn't prepared for it. I thought it was somebody coming out, and then when my brain processed it, it was gone.
But he had a face, like he looked at you?
Yep, and I saw his beard. And then when I looked when I went downstairs when we were done doing the interview and then we are going to do our investigation, I saw like the old inaugural, I guess, not a team, but like the captain and all those people, and it was him, 100%. I would swear to a death.
Wild.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice that activity happens when you kind of like shifted your brain a little bit? Like you're not, we find, as opposed to asking questions and trying to like, definitively communicate, sometimes it's when we take a break and we're talking amongst ourselves. That's when the activity will pick up, or something will happen in the hallway. And it's almost like kind of wants to get us like, this is why you're here.
I agree. Rule
yeah.
of thumb is whenever we get to a place, the audio recorder goes on, always. And we always get our EVPs like that. Or what we like to do is we like to really study the location and who lived there, what their interests were. And I'll just try to have a conversation of like, oh, it's said in this book, John really liked corn. So I'll have a nice good old conversation about corn and see if we get like anything. So
Merle likes to hear of corn every now and again.
Merle fact. I'm allergic to corn, Dave.
Oh,
well, either way.
Yep.
Either way.
Yep.
Either way. We know you like some corn. We got about 8 minutes to go before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Ghosts of the Great White North with their man Merle and the Ghost Moms out of Missouri tonight. Ladies, when you go in, I mean, Julie, you said you're the hardcore skeptic. You try and find logical answers for everything. And I think that's a good way to do things. I think we all need to be skeptical with what we are doing and what we are going through. To this day, what would you say, Julie, is your best piece of evidence that you've collected or seen or experienced?
The ones that get me are the EVPs, because I don't know how to explain those voices. And we've caught a lot of Class A EVPs. We were in a nursery and we were trying to play with the kids, and we caught a little boy's voice as clear as day saying, "Let's play." And we were in the house that Kelly mentioned, the Civil War house that a friend had asked us to come. They had said that there was a little girl that had lived at the house, and she'd been seen in windows looking out by their neighbors, even though they don't have a little girl. And we came into the house and they had their dog, Charlie. And I was saying hello to the dog. And on the recorder, you hear me say, "Hi, babe," because I'm talking to the dog. And all of a sudden, this little girl's voice responds and says, "Oh, hi." And she sings a song and says, "La, la, la, la." And it's clear. It's just like she's standing there. Like, it's the most bizarre thing, because I can't tell you how that happens. And all I can think, it gives me chills now. All I can think, like, she was excited to see us and she was singing us a song, and, she wanted to play. And I love that that the idea of that realm exists, and that they are able to penetrate ours and the digital record at that level. Because if you notice on EVPs, it's always like a tiny shift in the level of the recording. Like, it's not on our level. It's literally this other realm that's being captured. It's mind blowing. Those are the ones that my family are, those are skeptical too, but the EVPs are the ones that always get them too, because it's just, how do you explain that?
The ones were the scariest. There was the one at the Missouri State.
Oh yeah, they like Emily.
Something was following us from different areas, and it sounded maniacal. It was really creepy listening to it.
Well, yeah, and there's like one part,
and it was responding appropriately to us.
There was disturbing, where we were all laughing, and then all of a sudden there's this ha 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 laugh, like that wasn't us because we're higher pitched, and that was, but we didn't hear it only until we like played it back. So that was strange.
And Emily saw something down the hallway and like peripherally, and she was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And then you hear this really guttural, I want to call it demonic, but a growl that didn't sound human. And then we were like, "Which cell is it?" And then you hear a man's voice say, "That's mine." And then we were hoping he was talking about the cell and not us.
Yeah.
And not like picking one of us. But, the EVPs will always get me.
That's number one for me too.
Yeah.
EVPs.
Well, remember the tribal drum at Shawnee Indian Mission? That was crazy.
Oh, yeah, there was a flute. We actually heard, we were in a Native American old mission, and we actually heard like the sound of a flute, of a Native American flute being played. And we were in a room by ourselves, and just doors shut, windows shut, all quiet. And it's wild. It's not just voices. It's literally this other existence that we just can't see. Mike's, what's been your best EVP?
Oh man, my best EVP. I have a male coming right up to the audio recorder. It was Sandra. She was doing an EVP session. This was at a private residence, and it was on Indigenous land traditionally, but the occupants of the house were not. And she says, "What's your name? Who are you?" It's on our. I'll send you the clip, and it's clear as day. It's like a growly voice saying Cherokee.
Oh wow!
Or Jeremy. It's one of the two.
One of the two.
Yeah.
And
it could be either. Wow.
It's so unsettling because it's so clear and so loud in our recorder, but your bare ears don't hear it.
Yeah. So
that energy that's right beside you, like exploding in your audio equipment, it's pretty unsettling.
Well, and I always say, if you try to picture, like when we get an EVP, like if you're actually in the moment during an investigation, and I'll say, what if right now, like in the nursery where the children were killed, I was like, what if they're all just like trying to get our attention right now? Like it's kind of a wild scenario that they might be just right there. We just can't, and we're talking to them, and maybe I think this is why we like the less trotted places, is because I think sometimes they're so excited anyone's trying to communicate, because maybe no one has tried before. And so I love to go into these places where then they think, oh, just another person. But then they're like, wait, hold on a second. What are they doing? Oh, they have equipment. Oh, this goes off. I don't know. But I like to think that the intelligent ones, not the residual, but the intelligent they're going to be happy that you're trying, especially if no one's tried before.
Absolutely. And that's like us too. We like the untrodden, the unexplored, less explored areas, but we try to learn the dialogue of the era where the said spirits are from. Sure. And I find that's a really big trigger. Like we've been playing with it a lot the past 6 months. Like however they would have talked in the 50s, 40s, 1800s or whatever, just throw those words at them, and we get a lot of cool responses.
Emily will speak Spanish for us sometimes.
Right.
Have you ever had any crossover from spirit to other types of entities, whether it's cryptid or alien or UFOs? Because there's a lot more crossover that a lot of people are seeing today and starting to investigate whether these phenomena are all linked together. Now, I personally believe they are, but I'm curious if you've experienced during your investigations, Kelly, on anything like this happening.
Well, like at the Conjuring House, as I mentioned before, I really felt like there were multiple things going on. Like it just felt like a tear in the universe there or something. It just felt like there was so much energy there, and I don't think that there's just maybe paranormal going on there. I think that there was a lot going on there with all the shadows and the lights and the time warp. It was
the owners actually have seen grays on the property and seen grays in the house, and so clearly there's some sort of activity that's not just paranormal. I don't know how, whether those energies. I kind of think those energies might attract each other. I don't know. I think it exists on a different plane. And obviously, the universe is infinite space. But I think when the energy is heightened like that, it naturally attracts more energy.
Mm-hmm. It is absolutely amazing. We have Ghosts of the Great White North for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We are having a wonderful, wonderful time with the Ghost Moms out of the beautiful state of Missouri. And we have Kelly, we have Liz, we have Julie, we have Emily for another 30 minutes. And, of course, our man, the myth, the Merle legend, Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers, hanging on out. We're going to talk some paranormal as we continue on. Then in hour number 3, we're going to hook up with Vancouver and go right across Canada on the shift. Swamp Dweller will be with us. The fedora wearing John Hudson. Man, we got a jam show in the next 90 minutes. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Flying by, eh?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Totally.
crazy.
You
Wait,
betcha.
what's the place in like the West Coast that where they've seen the dire wolves and they've seen aliens? They're studying it right now.
Mhm.
Why can I not think of it?
The group, are you saying?
No, it's like this farmland, and they're like they've seen all this crazy. They've seen aliens there. They've seen dire wolves, and they think it's like and there's scientists there like studying what's going on there. I'm trying to.
Dave, what do you think? Do you think that there are
Roger
portals where alien life can come in?
Oh,
Yeah. See, I think there's too many videos out there of people appearing out of nowhere or even kind of morphing into a person. And I know there's a lot of camera tricks and CGI, but some of it just
I had an incident in 2018. It's funny because Merle was down at our museum at that time with a bunch of big name ghost hunters, and they caught the picture of an alien in one of the buildings there. But the next night we did an investigation, myself, the Ukrainian Watermelon, Little Ronnie Moniak, and a few others. We took about a tour on the original Gold Rush Trail, and we actually met up with a Chinese husband and wife who'd come over on boat, and now they were making their way up to Barkerville, which had a large Chinese community. And the one thing that really messed me up with that is they wouldn't leave the trail. You know, once we said goodbye, they were still there. Like all the K2 meters, all the meters and everything were still going off. And I finally figured out that it wasn't just them. It was their horses and their buggy that was following them. But what really screwed me up is they were still on the road. And when we parted off the road, they continued. And as they continued, you could see all the K2s. Like we had 9 K2s all spiking at red. There's no power lines there.
no.
There's no power lines. And as they moved down the trail, you would see the K2s go from red back down to green, red to green, red to green. And it was amazing. But what got me wondering about this at that point was, who's the ghosts?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sometimes.
We were impeding on their travel. So
Yeah.
did we combine timelines
Maybe.
from a different dimension at that exact
Maybe.
moment where we were the ghosts to them
Mhm.
and they were continuing on what they needed to do?
Yep.
And ever since then, I have been so unsure of the paranormal. I really have.
Oh, thinking that it's just time lapse or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think in a lot
Parallel universe.
of cases it can be.
I do
Yeah.
too.
We always wonder that with residual, with what seems to be residual energy, because sometimes things are just on such a clear loop or a pattern.
Right.
And you just wonder, are they just going about their day? Like, are they doing what, and the idea of heaven or whatever the afterlife might be, if their idea of heaven was being in this house they loved, they don't see it in the decrepit, condition it is now. They see it in they see it in its heyday and how beautiful it was. And maybe they're in their happy place and they're just living their life because that's what they want to do in that realm and they're able to, and we're just sensing it. We're sensing them as they're going about their business. I don't know. It's the whole concept is just
Like if you get a janitor, if you get the ghost of a janitor that's cleaning up a school, how do you know that janitor isn't still living in 1950 on a different timeline?
Right.
Yeah.
I
Liz
know.
has a ghost janitor.
We have a picture of a ghost janitor.
We actually
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the church. Yeah, we had our 2 best pictures happened in our haunted church, and one is, so there's a school in the basement now, and there was a just like one of those little Mercury motion activated cameras that was set up for monitoring, and a teacher and a child were cutting through, and they're the ones who triggered the camera, but you can clearly see the outline of another person in the room with them.
And it looks like a janitor.
It looks like a janitor, and there is the theory that it's this guy George who used to work there. And then also in the church, there's a little girl that haunts it, and this is my favorite picture ever. And there, she haunts the choir room in the basement, and a lot
We
of
got
the
10 seconds.
Oh, well, anyway, we have a camera that triggered at 3 a.m. and it is very much the girl's face.
Beautiful.
It draws everything.
It's
Yeah.
so
All right. Get you all to hold on right there. And here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we continue on with the Paranormal Road Trippers, Merle and Ghosts of the Great White North. Tonight from Missouri, we have the Ghost Moms, Emily, Julie, Kelly, and Liz hanging on out with us as we continue on with some ghost stories up until the top of the hour. Ladies, Merle, welcome back.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Take it away, Merle.
Julie, tell us about your interactions with Ghost Adventures.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I write for People magazine, and I was obsessed with the show for years. And so we tried it story, and I got to go to Utah and meet up with the guys in an old mining town and participated in part of the investigation. And it was kind of wild just to see how they work together, their dynamic. Obviously, what's edited on television, but to see the bare bones of it all, it was actually quite impressive because they are a well-oiled machine, and they know exactly, how to draw out. They definitely go in, and they know their business, and they antagonize when they need to. And it's a different energy. It's the first time I had been in a really dark area, because at first we were in like an old bank and an old office building, and it was so dark because they black out all the windows. And we hadn't really done Ghost Moms yet. Ghost Moms was just getting to be an idea, but we had not gone on our first investigation. Anyway, and then we caught a couple of EVPs, and they locked me in a cell. Well, I wasn't locked, but I was down in a cell by myself in the dark, which was nothing short of terrifying. But later in the episode, they had heard about this house and a man that did rituals to open a portal. And I don't know, when I heard ritual and portal, I was like, I'm going to sit in the car. So I sat outside, and Zach got this just absolute insane demonic scream of an EVP, like to the point where I put my hands over my ears because it was so loud. And that kind of the whole experience just changed everything. I wrote about it, obviously, for the magazine, and I told the girls about it. And I think that's when we were on a trip in New Orleans and we were taking a ghost tour, and the tour guide was not doing a good job. And I remember thinking, and we were talking about, we would do we could really do this right. But that's how Ghost Moms got launched. And I'm kind of become the paranormal girl at the magazine. Like anytime there's something about ghosts, aliens, UFOs, they all just send it to Julie. she's going to figure it out. So, but they were the Ghost Adventures guys, Zach and the team, were very gracious and very generous with their time. And they totally, I think they very much supported my enthusiasm. And he knows that we've started Ghost Moms. All of them do, and they're very they think, because this is how you start. You become intrigued, and all of us have full-time jobs, but this is something that if we could do full-time, we would, because it's just incredible. And we understand that anyone that really wants to get into this, you got to start somewhere. And we're very grateful that the paranormal community has accepted us and supported us the way they have.
That's a question we ask all the paranormal teams that we talk to and chat with. What advice do you give new people in the field if they're wanting to get in?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Kelly?
I don't know. Yeah. Kelly, you want to field that one?
Oh, I would say buy a REM pod or an EMF. Just start with small. You don't have to spend a ton of money. Just buy a piece of equipment or two. And we'll even go out to a cemetery and try to because we really want to see an 80s ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody talks about seeing ghosts from the 1800s with long skirts. We want to see an 80s ghost or something. So we'll go. We just went to a cemetery last week and walked around, and we actually had a REM pod go off on a headstone of a 33-year-old woman that had passed away in the 80s. So, I think just start small, and just like with anything in life, let yourself have the learning curve and be open to learning and experiencing new things and taking good advice from people, and, start small and build on it. That would be my best advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Liz?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
Yes. I also, I just think you kind of have to be, you need to be open to it, but you also have to be skeptical too. I do think that's hugely important with it, because we all want something that's a really good, solid piece of evidence. And it takes time, and it takes patience, and to steal Kelly's analogy, it's like fishing. You wait and wait and wait for that catch. And so,
I use that same analogy.
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Because sometimes you get a nibble, sometimes you get a big bite.
Yep.
Sometimes you get nothing at all. Those nights where nothing happens, that's the true test, because we love being with each other, but you're there for a reason. And on dead nights when no equipment blips, no EVPs, the rooms feel different. There's a stillness in the air. It doesn't have energy. Yeah. And my biggest thing is just, again, because I'm the real debunker of the group, is just always look for what other probable cause for whatever you're experiencing. Is there a door open for a draft? Is there, did something move in the back room when you heard a sound? Kelly's stomach, was that your stomach growling? There's always something to look for. If you can't find it, that's when you start really figuring out, okay, could that have been paranormal? Mm-hmm. What's your advice, Mike?
My advice, what would mine?
Oh, here we go.
No, don't break the bank. Best paranormal gear, in my opinion, is your gut and a good audio recorder.
Yeah.
If you're looking to join a team, feel them all out. Don't just pick one, pick 5 and see which one you drive with the best. Assess their respect levels. If they're just show yourself versus being respectful, I would tend to go with the respectful guys. Make sure they're not charging people, make sure they're ethical, all that sort of fun stuff. That's my advice in a nutshell, because Dave knows I can go on.
Oh, yeah.
That's all good advice.
He actually finished that in record timing right there. My advice that I try and give it, I'm not a paranormal investigator, but I've interviewed over the years so many people, and this is what I have learned. Have direction on what you're trying to do. It's okay to admit you're a weekend warrior, or you're doing this for fun, or doing it for the thrill, or if you're actually diving on in and trying to solve some of life's best mysteries, but stop the fakeness, okay? Like I think like your team. One thing I like about you ladies is you're all skeptical in your own ways in trying to do things. We don't need the team debunker. We don't need the team historian or the team everything. You know, we need people to stop worrying about the television show and the pilot that isn't coming and just admit to what you're doing, right? It's okay. Like, hey, I like a good ghost hunt every now and again. I like it when Merle comes up here and we go out, right? I enjoy it. For me, it's fun. I'm not there to solve any worldly mysteries of life after death or portals or anything along those lines.
Demons.
But what's that?
Oh, just joking. I said demons.
Oh, yeah. Right. But what I'm there to do is I'm there to have a good time and enjoy something that most people don't get to enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think too many of these teams out there are more worried about how they look, how they present themselves, that they're going to be the next Zach Bagans or Amy Bruni, and that's all they care about. And they will do whatever it takes for that fame and that laughable fortune that does not come along. And within 2-3 years, they've screwed everything up in their areas and they've moved on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do this. We've always said we do this for ourselves. The fact that we have a following, those are people that like watching and being a part and living vicariously through us, because as much as so many of them do want to come with us, a lot of them would never because they're too scared, but they like watching what we present to them. And we're going to do this just because we like to do it. And we want, we like to finish this. And we always say, we're going to be the ghost grandmas someday. Like, we're just going to keep going.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a great, honest answer that not enough paranormal teams out there are actually trying to answer. It's kind of like I'll give you my pet peeve, and Merle will laugh at me when I say this, but the minute I hear a ghost team use the word science, I know they're full of it.
Yeah.
I know they're full of it. Right?
No, we don't use science, but we say this is our version of a book club. Like, we're just
That's good. That's
we
good.
get together.
You guys got a lot of good catchphrases.
Yeah.
What do you guys have coming up next?
What are we doing next? We have we're going to go back to the Rice Tremonti house. So when we first started investigating, we didn't have a lot of our equipment, including our night vision cameras. So this one place, and it has a slave cabin. It's in is it in Raytown, I think? Yeah, Missouri. And it had a slave cabin, and we caught another Class A EVP of a woman saying hello as we walked into the slave cabin. So we want to go back. So we're going back for that because now we can, use our cameras and much more equipment. But then we're going to go to Hotel Josephine, which is in Kansas, in a couple of weeks, which also has an incredible history. A lot of these Kansas towns they have cowboys. Zeke the cowboy was the one at Beaumont. And I think Zeke followed me home a couple of times. Or he has come to visit a couple of times. And my kids have experienced like lots of heavy boot steps in the hallway. Wow. But we're not scared. That's the thing. I welcome it. I can very much build a barrier, and I know people will say, oh, you don't know if it's demonic, you don't know what you're welcoming in, don't do that. I'm such a positive person that I'm open to the idea that I could somehow experience that further. I would love to be able to talk to ghosts, mediums, just that I think they're riveting, and I love how that process is possible, or what they do. But I'm always trying to develop that psychic side, because in another lifetime I would love to be that person that could help ghosts cross over and help them with family members that they have issues that haven't been resolved. So it's the mystery that drives me. That's what gives me passion for all of this, aside from being these women who are all incredible, and we have such it's nice doing this with your best friends. It really is. It's a privilege. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's actually a privilege.
That's true, though.
I really don't want anything to follow me home, and that's just I'm being honest. I like to go somewhere and experience it, but I do not really want it in my own house. So would prefer when we leave, we usually try to remember to say, thank you for, letting us
visit.
come to your space, but please don't follow us home. Please stay here. I just don't want it at my house.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we always remember we're in control. That's the thing. We're in
Absolutely.
control. Even if something's scary, we are able to say, okay, that's our fear. Temper it, and just, you can't affect me unless I let you. So that always gives us kind of the backbone that we need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
When your
Yeah,
children
You should know.
get older, will you take your children along and have that secondary team built underneath you? Little
Yeah.
training.
We've already them.
Yeah, we took them once. We had one that didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, we took half of them. And my youngest, who was like 10 at the time,
Yeah, I didn't take it.
she was so pumped, and she talked about it all week, and she was so excited. And then once we pulled up to the house, she's like, I'm not going in there. And so, and then I tried to I was like, you wanted to do this, you're with us. And then it was tears, and they went on into the house, and I had to drive her home. Yeah. So, yeah. But if she wants to, she's my scary movie watching partner, which is kind of surprised me in her. But if she wants to go back, I'll take her, but I'm not going to push it.
Yeah, they tolerate it. A lot of their friends follow us, on social media. So clearly, because my son says, people always come up to me like, is your mom the ghost mom? It's like, what? That's an icebreaker. You could find a girlfriend that way. It's fine.
My daughter
got the
wants to go on
cooking kit.
investigations too, and I have a haunted doll at my place, so I'll periodically put it in her
You're
room
brave.
for when she wakes up. I'll wake her before I wake her for school. I'll put it in there, and it doesn't go well. I'll be like,
Hey, that gets
"That's
her up."
proud of you." It's like I'm training you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The doll thing is terrifying.
I
Yeah.
love dolls, though. I'll pick up any doll. I don't think I'd pick up Annabelle, but I would pick up any doll that's like, a lot of times they have them in cases because they've moved, and I'm like, I'll hold her. Like I have no problem holding dolls.
I have an investigation tomorrow night actually for a client in Vancouver, and they have a doll. They say it's from the 1700s,
Oh, wow.
and they have documentation saying that it's cursed from it's a family doll passed down, and they have like books from way back then with people writing in it saying that the doll turns whatever female possesses the doll turns her into a spinster.
Oh, that's not good.
That's the term they use. Like that's.
Oh my God.
And this doll it is. I'll send you guys a message on
Please.
Instagram, but
Let us know how it is.
I'll send you the photo. She's pretty creepy looking.
Creepier the better.
Yeah.
That's an old doll.
Yeah.
When we were in Melbourne, Julie and Liz took a doll that they had encased. It had holy water on it. It had a rosary, and they took it out of the case. We're holding it. Kelly,
Fine. Nothing happened.
but our night vision cameras, when we went to sleep, we put it in the kitchen, back in the case in the kitchen, and we were in a room off the kitchen. And you can see these with the night vision camera, these anomalies that just keep like bouncing off the doll case.
Something was shifting. Something was shifting to cause a
Something
vibration.
was going on with the doll. I don't
Wow.
like dolls.
Dolls are
Give
creepy.
me any doll anytime.
Doll, thanks. In my house.
I just did this cool research experiment where I had these two dolls that were shipped from actually Iowa to me, saying that they were extremely haunted. So I solicited 5 paranormal teams in my area, and I did it all confidential, so they don't know who's who.
Yeah.
And I had each of them investigate it, and now it's on the last person. So once I get those dolls back, I'm gonna compile all the research, and then I'm gonna put it into a little video just to show my findings. I'm pretty
Yeah.
Well, it'd be wild to compare notes and see if they experienced any of the same things.
absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's a good idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Got some creepy EVPs from a couple of the people, I'll tell you that much. So
Ugh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, so when you guys said that you like to go to places that are not well known. I mean, we love In Cold Blood, the novel, like that's like 3 hours away from us, and so I'd love to go there. Or like the BTK First Murder House is 3 hours from us. But I mean, like those are just private residences.
Yeah,
that's the hard part. So, I mean, have you had any experience with that? I mean, I just like to know because I mean, I would call anyone and say, hey, we're this team, we would like to investigate. I mean, the worst they can say is no, but some of those places I would love to go to and see what activity is there. But I don't know, have you guys ever done anything like that?
There's a house in Vancouver I want to do. It was an axe murder house. The son, he drugged his family with sedatives in milkshakes.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard about this.
Yeah, he hacked them all up, and that's a private residence right now. Wow. So I'm trying to figure out how to get in or go knock on the door and ask if I could bring up some drama from the 70s.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't it make you wonder if they know, though? I'm always curious about that. I'm like, do they know what happened in this house? Because realtors don't have to in some states, realtors don't have to disclose if the house is believed to be haunted or if somebody's died in the house. But there's some states they have to. But clearly that's not something that they necessarily want to advertise when they're trying to sell a house.
I think if someone was murdered in my house when I was here, the real estate agent would have to disclose that. But then if somebody bought it and then resold it, they don't have to disclose it then.
It's just the first change of hands.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, they go cheaper if you're on a budget.
Yeah.
No, up here they don't have to disclose.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think in Kansas they have to.
Yeah,
and also, we have a lot of realtor friends, and I got called one day to a house the new owners. The realtor called me, and the new owners suspected that a little girl, she was starting to scare the woman's grandson, who was 2, because he kept talking about her, and she was getting mad at him for not playing with her. So I went in and did a digital recording, just digital recorder EVP session, but she had done enough homework to find out that her name was Lillian or Lily, and that she had fallen down the stairs, when the house was first built, and had died. And so on the recorder, I asked, we've been told there's a little girl here. Do you go by Lily or Lillian? And on the EVP, we got an EVP of the voice saying Lillian. So then we started saying Lillian, and the woman had talked to a medium before, and she had said that Lillian's mother, was trying to cross her over and couldn't. So we spent the entire time saying, go to the light, your mom's in the light. I left the next day. The woman called me, and she had not told the medium that I was there. And the medium had reached out to her and said, I just got a message from Lillian's mom, and she wants to say thank you because Lillian's with her now. So I was like, I'll do that till the cows come home. Whether that's true or not, that's just an amazing thought that little girl is reunited with her mom.
Absolutely.
Ladies, we only got about 90 seconds left with you tonight.
Oh, wow.
I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio's Ghosts of the Great White North with Merle and myself. Julie, do us a favor. Tell everybody where they can find you guys, your social media contacts, and how they could get in touch.
Yeah. So Instagram, actually almost everywhere, we're just at Ghost Moms. I think Twitter, someone had that handle. So on Twitter, we're at Ghost Moms KC for Kansas City. But then Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we're just YouTube Ghost Moms, and TikTok Ghost Moms. And then if you want to email us, we're just theghostmoms@gmail.com.
And I followed you guys on Instagram earlier tonight, so make sure that you repay the favor, because that's how it works.
I followed you.
Damn it, I want that subscribe button hit. I am teasing. Merle, it's been another great show with you, man.
Strong show.
Another great show. Merlica the Beautiful. There he is. There he is. And that's the way we roll.
Thank you guys for having us.
I know. Thank you so much.
This is really fun.
Kelly, Liz, Emily, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And good luck with your future investigations and having fun and enjoying what you do. The one thing that I loved about tonight was seeing you guys, your energy and your love and passion for what you do. A lot of people don't have that. They always got to be serious and uptight. But you're taking it as it comes, and I think it's it's great and extremely refreshing for the paranormal community to have you all there as a team. So great job that you guys are doing.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for reaching out.
Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to go across Canada. We're going to join Shane in the shift to talk about the UFO hearings yesterday. And then we're going to head to the swamp. The fedora-wearing John Hudson after that, and Shirky Poo's news. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio is next. Great job, ladies.
That was
Great.
fun.
Thank you. It was so fun. Thank you so much.
It is bedtime. It is 1 a.m.
Oh, no.
We got kids to get up in the morning for the last day of school.
Dave's got 2 hours of work left. You guys.
Yes. Seriously. Well, you did an awesome job. I love your show. You do an awesome job. I see why people love it.
Well, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, I'm going on YouTube for this too. I promise. We'll do right after.
What was that, Liz?
I said my husband, because it's 1 a.m. here. My husband fell asleep on the couch and we can hear him snoring.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Not an EVP.
No.
I gotta let you guys go because
thanks, Mike.
Good night.
But
Yeah,
thank you so much for everything.
Have a great
Appreciate
day.
it.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey, Vancouver, how you doing?
Doing great here. Good to have some bonus Dave Scott tonight. We'll be ready for 06.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to go for my break here, and I'm on my break here. We'll talk to you in 5.5 minutes. All right, people, we are close, about a minute away. We're going to join up with the shift. And then we'll get to Swamp Dweller after that. Great show. Fun show tonight. Of course, we thank our buddy Merle for hanging on out with us. And we got about 25 seconds before we're going to go here. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Durain. Durain is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Little bit of a special time tonight as we are going to head across Canada and join up with Shane Hewitt and the Shift out of Vancouver, British Columbia, where we are going to be talking about the UFO hearings, because I know Shane has been diligently growing his beard, trying to make sure that we have all the UFO updates that we can provide him. Shane, how you doing, man?
Good, buddy. How are you doing, Dave Scott, spacedoutradio.com? I hate to tell you and say I told you so, but you told me so.
Told you so. It feels good. I'm not going to lie. It feels very, very good. And you know, yesterday's hearing, Shane, that came out of the United States do have a little bit of impact here in Canada as well. And it's very interesting to see how this is going to play out. Now, for us in the UFO field, you know, it was a little bit of a nothing burger, nothing that they hadn't told. You know, we talk about these two guys who sat in front of the Congress in the U.S., and they were being asked questions about whether it was Russia, whether it was China. I thought we were already beyond that, but apparently not. Apparently, according to one congressman, we were still talking about swamp gas, and I think we're a little bit beyond that. Otherwise, it was a very exciting day. For 90 minutes, the U.S. Congress met publicly with Mr. Moultrie and Mr. Bray, who were part of the Naval Intelligence and the Defense Intelligence Agency, trying to figure out what the heck these weird craft are flying in American skies and around military air bases. But they downplayed it a little bit, Shane. They didn't get into things that they should already know. Things like the nuclear facilities in the 1960s and 70s at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where there are heavy reports, and it's already been coming out public again this past year about these nuclear weapons that were being switched on and off by these red orbs. And they were asked about this, Moultrie and Bray, and they're like, no, we don't know anything about this. How can you not in your position? But the problem that we had here is outside of Representative Gallagher, there was nobody really going at them about the information, like Malmstrom, like the Wilson-Davis documents, where scientist Dr. Eric Davis said he talked to Admiral Wilson about UFOs and crash retrievals. They denied knowing anything about this. They denied knowing anything about any projects looking into UFOs from Project Blue Book and J. Allen Hynek moving forward. So it was a little disappointing. They didn't give the public anything to chew on, but I also talked to Luis Elizondo yesterday afterwards, and he said to me, David, baby steps. This is baby steps. It's one of the first of many meetings and public hearings to come. This subject is not going anywhere anytime soon.
One of the numbers that I saw in this one particular article was the number 400. And I was curious. I thought of you. I was like, how many is 400 in context? The unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, reported by pilots and service members had grown to about 400. Now, to a guy like me, that seems like a lot. But inside this community, is that a lot?
No, not at all. I mean, these are just military reports. Remember, they haven't scoured the thousands of reports MUFON gets or NUFORC or any other type of UFO agency out there that has been gathering reports for decades. This is just military incursions with unidentified aerial phenomena. Now, just a year ago, during the initial DIA report that came out June 25th of last year, we were only told there was 144 of them. And back then we had a laugh because 143 they could not explain, but the one they could explain was a weather balloon. Who had that on their bingo card? I know I did.
Well, yeah, but it says 144 reports, though. Like, how many airplanes had to fly by this balloon, or how long was this saggy balloon flying around? I mean, right? 144 seems like an awful lot for one balloon, Dave.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, who knows how many reports that they are telling us? All right. The number 400 may be, Shane, just what they want us to know. Now, if you talk to some of the fighter pilots who have experienced this phenomena firsthand and up close, I mean, there's one fighter pilot, Ryan Greaves, who claimed that on the East Coast that they were experiencing tic-tac-like objects almost every day when they were flying and training. And other pilots were experiencing it as well. I mean, there's 365 days in a year. And if they're experiencing these tic-tacs almost every day, well, there's 365 reports right there. So what are they not telling us? That's the big story.
So I'm guessing it's not balls of gas, and I'm guessing they, at this point, would move away from it's another country with airplanes we've never seen before. I mean, they still rehash those old stories, huh?
That they're still going that way. But because you have to realize, Shane, there is still public perception that needs to go out there. Okay. And they talking to Luis Elizondo a couple of weeks ago, they are still quite fearful over how people, citizens, religious people are going to react. How is it going to affect the economy? How is it going to affect daily lives? And, you know, the one thing that was a litmus test that Elizondo did state to me was that they were paying very good attention during the initial stages of the COVID outbreak, watching people hoard milk, hoard eggs, hoard food and toilet paper, because this story is much larger than COVID. This story, if people actually get attached to it, will realize this will affect every single person on Earth. And if that's the way we're going to react and treat each other through a viral disease, how are we going to react when extraterrestrials make their presence? But Shane, the one other thing I want to mention to you, because we are across Canada, MP Larry Maguire also let out a release regarding the reports and the public hearings. He says that public hearings in Canada should be necessary in the future. He also says that now up to 3 members of parliament, including one from the NDP federal government, have expressed interest in learning what is happening in Canada regarding the UAP phenomena and how is this affecting our nuclear energy facilities out east, as well as what is the military doing about it, what is NAV Canada doing about it, what is Transport Canada doing about it, because Canada does not have a UAP desk. And summarizing the report here, Maguire said maybe it's time that we, as Canadian government, look to put funding into the UAP phenomena and starting our own task force desk.
Now, you make me want to get political here, because you make me want to say, we subcontract out everything in the government. Why don't we just subcontract out all of the aerial defense to the UAPs?
Well, we could, but we just don't know whose side they're on just yet.
Oh, just yet. Okay, so it's been a long time since there was a hearing. Quickly before we're done here, Dave Scott, it's been like, I don't know, 60 years or so since they've done a public hearing like this, 50 years?
Just over 50.
How long has it been? Because we need to know how important it is that they're actually doing this.
Look, this has happened. The last time this happened was over 50 years ago. And back then, they were still using swamp gas. They were still using Northern Lights, Venus, Mars, Jupiter in the sky, because they didn't want anybody to talk about this. Fast forward to today, where society seems a lot more open. I think we're going to see more talks coming soon. We should be getting another UAP report from the U.S. Department of Defense within the next couple of months here. I believe in June it's supposed to happen, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. But I can tell you this, Shane, this story is not going away, and more people, doesn't matter what side of the border you're on, need to wake up to the fact that this story is not going away. Like it's not that tinfoil hat conspiracy anymore. This is real, and we need to open up our eyes and learn more about it and what we can do about it.
Baby steps, Dave. Got to remember the baby steps. Your buddy Louise, he's a smart man.
All right. Thank you, Shane.
Thanks so much, pal.
Take care.
It. Dave Scott, speak now.
And now let's head on over to the swamp for our resident swamp dweller.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. During the 90s, TV shows like America's Funniest Videos were among some of my favorites. The videos I liked the best were when people would get kicked in the nads by an animal like a goat, or the kids would whack them in the head with a big plastic bat. I spent many an evening in front of the TV doubled over laughing at others' bad luck. I'm aware that not all people find this kind of stuff funny, but I'd wager, judging from the popularity of the Three Stooges, that there's a lot of us out there that would definitely enjoy it, even if we don't care to admit it. However, since the following happened, I'm a lot less likely to mock others in their times of misfortune. Since I was about 10, the male members of my family, in the early years this consisted of my dad and his brother, took an annual trip to British Columbia to hunt moose. This usually took place around late September, or the closest time to that all those involved could get the time off. Since the first year of the hunt, I'd begged to go but was always told I was too young. This ritual was repeated year after year while I was 14, when I was finally decided that I was mature enough to handle it. Now, I'm going to stop here and address something I'm sure will come up in the comments once the story is posted. I am well aware that there are many reading this that hate hunting. I'm not here to field a bunch of angry comments regarding your feelings about the act of hunting animals. Send all those to PETA. I'm here to tell a story about something scary that happened in the woods. Well, now that I'm off my soapbox, I'll continue with the story. Being allowed to join the hunt in my family was sort of an unspoken rite of passage, an unofficial stamp that I was now a man, and you better believe that's how I felt. In order to prepare for the hunt, we made a trip to Cabela's to get all the stuff we would need. The remainder of the stuff was handled by the outfitter. All the way down to the flight in, at the end of September, everybody packed up for the long flight, and before I knew it, we were standing next to a small river that was base camp of every hunt since the beginning, 4 years before. We enjoyed a massive dinner that evening, and although I was exhausted, I got very little sleep that night, mainly due to the excitement. Morning came all too soon, but my adrenaline high kept me going. Before we left that morning, the outfitter held a brief safety meeting in order to remind all those attending that we were in a dangerous area. Whether it was a grizzly, wolf, or a rutting bull, we had to keep our eyes open because there was a lot of things in these woods that could hurt us and want to hurt us. After the meeting, we headed out. I was in a group with my uncle and one of the guides. After a hike of about 5 miles, with a pack on my back, I was starting to drag. The lack of sleep was catching up with me. The guide must have noticed I was tired because he suggested we take a break at a small clearing at the top of the steep hill we had just hiked up. The break came just in time. I threw off my pack and laid down next to the remnants of an old fire pit. The other two put down their packs and began pulling cooking pots and a small stove out preparing, for what I assumed was to make some coffee or snacks. About the time everything was set up and the stove began blazing, a loud crashing noise came from the tree line, only a matter of feet away from us. We jumped up to see a massive bull moose charging out of the trees. We all scattered, trying to anticipate where the bull was headed. We were unable to get our rifles because we were laying against a tree behind the bull. None of us were stupid enough to make a target of ourselves by circling behind a raging moose. I found a tree large enough for me to shimmy up. From my limb, I saw the bull take aim for my uncle, who himself was still running in circles looking for a place of safety. Unfortunately for him, the bull was too close and managed to close the distance too quickly. As he came closer to my uncle, he dropped his head and drove his antlers into my uncle's chest and arms, which had raised to protect his face from the strike. The bull struck with such power that my uncle was driven off the edge of the cliff that we had climbed up only minutes before and disappeared. The bull stopped at the cliff and looked around for another target, huffing the whole time. The guy took the opportunity to go for his gun. He took a big breath, aimed, and fired. The moose dropped where it stood. Once we were sure the moose was dead, we ran over to the edge, dreading what we would see. My uncle lay motionless at the bottom of the gravel-strewn hill. While not being a sheer and super tall cliff, it was still high enough to kill a man if he fell off of it. And at first, I was sure that's what happened to my uncle. To my relief, I was sure I could hear a quiet but audible moan come from him. We scrambled to the bottom as fast as we could, and when we got there he was moaning. The guide, whose name was Roger, swiftly took control and told me what to do to help him. He also told my uncle not to move in case he had a neck injury. Thankfully, he had landed on his back, so we didn't have to move him much. Roger went through a checklist of questions to find out the extent of his injuries. It was obvious that my uncle had a broken arm. The bone poking out from the skin on his forearm made it kind of, easy to tell. It made me kind of queasy, too, but I managed to hold myself together. I helped Roger create a makeshift splint for the break, and I did the best I could to keep my uncle conscious. My biggest fear was he would go into shock. Roger pulled out his weird-looking radio thing that I later found out was a satellite phone and called for a way to go home. A helicopter came to evacuate my uncle. Luckily, the outfitter we were using required his guides to be certified in first aid. His knowledge provided him with the ability to give a rescue team a very good idea of my uncle's injuries and condition. He saved my uncle's life that day, and for this I'll always be very thankful, and every year when I see him at the hunting camp I thank him again. The chopper arrived about 30 minutes later and took my uncle to the hospital. The list of injuries came up to the compound fracture of the ulna, 5 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and a compression fracture of the thoracic vertebrae. He spent the next couple of weeks in the hospital, and when he was released, we took the first flight home. The next year or so was quite a battle for him. The ribs and the broken arm healed pretty quickly, but the 2 surgeries from the fractured vertebrae left him laid up for almost another 6 months, and the after effects from the concussion have left him with some long-term memory issues. As if it couldn't get any worse, he's been forced to live with constant pain to the extent that he has to wear a morphine pump. I would expect any man to give up and spend all his time at home, but he's never let this whole mess ruin his life, and he's still been able to keep a smile on his face. He still attends the hunt every year, although he's left the hunting part to the younger men, and he and Roger have become pretty good friends. Oh, and by the way, when we got back, we realized we had completely forgotten about the moose. We had written it off as an unfortunate loss, but a week later we received 2 large parcels from British Columbia. One was 100+ pounds of moose meat, and the other was the mounted head of the bull. He was indeed a fierce-looking creature, The note included simply said, "Here's a reminder of your trip. Get well soon, Roger."
Right on. See, that's what I'm telling you about. I tell you about the moose in British Columbia. They are the size of minivans and they can hurt you. That's why we go into the forest looking for Sasquatch armed. Not for the Sasquatch, but for the moose and everything in between. All right. Thank you, Swamp Dweller. You can check out Swamp Dweller's channel. Hit subscribe. He's at over 250,000 subscribers, around 264,000. He's got thousands of stories like that. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. We got a couple of minutes to go here before the break. Let's bring in the fedora wearing John Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
How you doing, Fedora? Are you over the hangover of the UAP hearings yet?
Oh yeah, I mean, me personally, I still haven't even done processing it yet. I'm basically going through it, minutes at a time, doing different analysis and looking into other sources that I could get to help with certain analysis. And so I've watched the whole thing, but I'm probably only about 33% through as far as like the kind of deep analysis that I like to do on these sort of things.
Well, it's very interesting that, today was a reflection day for a lot of people in the UFO community, trying to pick out and literally tear to pieces every single word that was said by the congressman, that was said by Bray, that was said by Moultrie.
Yeah.
It was a breakdown
call that reflection. I'm not sure I'd call it reflection. I saw it more as a manic panic, as everyone ran for cover thinking that their stories had either been proven or blown, and they suddenly felt this impassioned need to defend them, even though probably nothing had actually changed.
Well, you know what? Either way, however you want to look at it, we'll call it reflection. UFO Twitter was all over it today. The one thing that really caught me off guard, I don't believe this is in your notes, but Congressman Tim Burchett was still fired up, angry about the open public hearings, that nothing came out. Still, like, he is fired up about this, man. Fired up. And I got to be honest with you, I find it refreshing, John. I find it very refreshing.
I'm really happy to hear that, Dave. And I hope there are many others that can enjoy it the way you were stating it. Me personally, I have serious trust issues with that guy. And for me, a lot of his statements that he's made, even though people get very excited about them because it's what they want to hear, they don't seem very genuine coming from him. And some of what he's saying is a little disingenuous, and it's designed to rile people up. And so
I will agree with that.
I don't know. There's something about him. Look, he's a nice spokesperson. He said some good things. He spreads the conversation, which is a good thing. He's just he's not someone I would consider an advocate at this point. He may turn out to be.
But I will disagree with you on that. I will totally disagree with you on that. And I'll tell you why. I think his passion for this subject and getting the truth out is extremely admirable. I will agree with you on one point, though, and that is when he was asked on Twitter today, as we go to break here, whether or not he knows things that could come out that were said privately. He said no, he would not release it. Typical politician talking out of both sides of his mouth. The fedora-wearing John Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. I like it when we disagree. Makes for better radio.
That's funny. For me, disagreement is very self-serving. I get excited when I disagree with someone because it usually means I'm going to learn something.
No, this is totally self-serving for the show.
Oh. There you go. All right. Yeah, which is weird if you really think about it, but okay. Hi, Jessica. Yeah. It's been a very entertaining day.
Did you happen to see Gallagher on with what's the former football player, Pat McCaffrey or McAfee or something like that? Did you see him today all fired up? Gallagher
was he the one talking about time travel?
Well, I'm going to see. I wish I could play the audio. This is where I hate YouTube. Okay, because us being a news station, we should be able to use that without getting struck, for copyright infringement. I realize there's fair use on it, and maybe I'm just too chicken not to use the fair use.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Dave, because I mean, it seems to me like can't you play terrestrial radio over as long as you're commenting on it perpetually?
Yes, but YouTube has different rules. I could use his audio on terrestrial radio. All I have to do is give credit. But YouTube's a different monster because everybody's watching their own channels, right? And YouTube doesn't have people. They have algorithms making the call.
Interesting. I've never really thought of that distinction. That's an important distinction.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's not a good one. It really is not a good one. I'm going to see if I can find this at Rep. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the one you're talking about. And honestly, like I was watching, there was so much going on today that I was a little out of sorts. And so I'm kind of I want to make sure that what I'm thinking of is what you're thinking of.
Well, I'm going to, you know what? Screw it. We're going to play it.
Like there was no answers to what.
Hold on. We're going to play it.
This thing was.
So let me line it up here. All right. Let's just play it.
Be brave.
Sound good?
Dave. Be brave.
You know what? We're going to play it under fair use. And
give absolute credit where credit's due.
We will give absolute credit. And I think it's Pat McAfee. Is that the guy's name? Yeah, Pat McAfee show.
It's weird. I thought I watched it earlier, and now I can't find it in my my history.
If we get rocked for it, I mean, if somebody did this to me, I wouldn't rock them for it because they're using it on a news angle.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Hey, did you ever watch that channel Veritasium?
No.
So they use it as he does really those, right? But he just did one on how they're using reverse DNA lookups on public DNA boards to find cold cases. And
really?
He did a fantastic job of overviewing the science and the legal problems and the ethical problems and so forth. And so if anyone's interested in that topic, I'm personally extremely excited about this reverse DNA methodology. But there are concerns and there are reasons to be concerned. So.
Okay.
Have you heard of this, Dave? It's basically where all they need is the DNA of essentially one of your second or third cousins. And I can use that to then figure out what your DNA is. And so if I have your DNA at a crime scene, even though you've never given me your DNA, because one of your distant relatives has, I can figure out what yours is, and I can then...
Weird. That is weird. Yeah, I think I heard you mentioning that the other day.
It's really cool. It is really cool.
We got 20 seconds, bud. 20 seconds.
They've caught a bunch of people in California already for it.
5 seconds. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the fedora-wearing John Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report. Now, John, one of the quotes that was used yesterday.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, we're on a radio show here.
Sorry.
One of the quotes that was used yesterday from Representative Gallagher was, and one thing that I was impressed was how passionate he was with asking questions of the committee that was there to talk about UAPs. He brought up Almstrom Air Force Base and the nuclear weapons that were being turned on and off by these red orbs. He brought up Project Blue Book. He brought up and got added to evidence the Wilson Davis documents, which are turning out to be phenomenal. All right. He was on, and for our YouTube audience, I do have to clarify, we are going to use this under fair use. He was on the Pat McAfee podcast and the Pat McAfee show here, and he was still fired up. He is all in on this topic, and we're going to play a little bit of this here. And why we don't have sound on this, I'm not sure. Let me find out here. Give me 2 seconds here.
Yes, this is actual video that we shot, and we do not know what this is. It's moving at a speed and in a manner that we don't think is man-made, basically is what the Pentagon said. Like, there was no answers to what this thing was that the internet had known for like 10 years. We had seen this on the internet, and it got legitimized. I don't understand. Do you think they're purposefully not trying to answer any questions? Do they go in there with the mindset to not answer any questions? Or do you think they legitimately just don't look into anything so they don't have any answers? Because that's more scary, I think, than the first answer.
Well, I think there's a couple possibilities. One, it's possible that even these guys who've we've tasked in the Secretary of Defense have tasked with getting to the bottom of this and figuring out aren't aware of everything that the federal government is doing. Put differently, there may be some program they don't even have access to. And that's problematic, right? That should be the first hypothesis that we're able to disconfirm, right?
Let's break this down, John. All right, and we'll continue on with fair use on from Representative Gallagher on the Pat McAfee show. But here he's saying that, look, these gentlemen, Moultrie and Bray, may not have the security clearance to answer a lot of those questions, and they may not have been read in yet. Do you buy that?
Well, this is part of my frustration because you have serious double talk going on, because you have people that appear to be slightly more aware of how this works, which is indicated by what he just said, because essentially there is absolute truth to what he said, insofar as the U.S. government learned a long time ago that one of the main reasons why you have heads of departments is because you intentionally keep them from knowing whatever it is you don't want to show up in Congress, because they're the ones that will have to testify. And so you intentionally have a figurehead that you leave out because he is exposed or she is exposed to congressional testimony. So what he's saying does happen. It is a practice. Now,
right,
is that what happened here? We don't know for sure, but it is a practice.
Okay, let's listen to some more here. Hold.
If it's a program that existed in the past that we have insight into, open up the books, right? Let's declassify as much as possible.
Why wouldn't they,
compromising.
Mike? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they open the books? Because they'd be scared about the reaction of the people.
Well, I think and I come from an intelligence background. There's always this argument that if you declassify the stuff, you're going to compromise sources and methods. Now, I think that's a bogus argument in this case. To your point, I mean, the Tic Tac video, everyone's seen that. Furthermore, I think the entry point into this discussion for a lot of people is that the pilots are legit. I mean, I've talked to David Fravor. Like, these guys are Top Gun pilots, right? And it's not just two separate pilots. It's not just like the Mavericks and the Iceman. You also have the Gooses, the guys that are sitting in the backseat, who confirm this stuff. So you can't dismiss the pilots. And also, I think that is the hardest to explain, right? Like, if you think a lot of these incidents are actually natural phenomenon or weather or a commercial drone, and I bet that explains a lot of them, it doesn't explain the TikTok video. And honestly, the hypothesis I brought into the debate, right? You got to understand my bias. I do US-China defense competition. That's kind of my thing, right? Like, I wake up every day thinking,
hey, pretty fucking important.
Guess we're going to have to edit that part out. But the whole point that he's getting at here, Representative Gallagher, is, look, we know this is not us. He has studied China. He has studied Russia. He's an intelligence guy. He's former military. And he's trusting these professionals who they put in place. They're not putting any dummies flying $60 million aircraft like the FA-18 Hornet. They're not putting dummies in there. And we got to trust what they are seeing and what they are saying compared to the videos that they are getting. Am I right, John?
Yeah, and actually, I think that well, the venue, was interesting. I think he actually showed much better here than he actually did in the hearing. I think he came off as far more articulate and far more pragmatic in this interview in many ways. I'm not sure I would have necessarily spoken of the time travel hypothesis, but hey, you know what? To each their own. But yeah, no, I mean, everything he's saying is, I mean, the thing is that the way he's talking now, the way he's phrasing things now, it would be very easy for someone in our community to listen to him and think he's been talking to somebody. He knows somebody. He's been on the periphery because he's a lot of what he's saying is just very much it's very insider,
He's gonna
but community insider.
He's going to open up here. We're going to play this a little bit more under free use from the Pat McAfee show and really what Representative Gallagher is saying about UAPs here. Let's get on free use.
Right, and my suspicion is that we're losing right now. So when I came into this, I thought,
we don't like that.
It's gotta be the communists, right? It's gotta be communist China spoofing our ranges or doing something weird. And I'll say this as someone who still kind of favors that hypothesis. That doesn't explain the Tic Tac video. Yeah. I don't have a good explanation for the Tic Tac video, which is why you can't dismiss the extraterrestrial hypothesis. So I don't know, man. We have a long way to go before we're even close to answering basic questions. And again, listen, I appreciate that they're taking it seriously, but they can't answer basic questions.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Basic questions, John. They can't answer basic questions. And that is the frustration that whether it's Gallagher, whether it's Burchett, who didn't get to sit in there, that's where we are right now. They couldn't answer basic questions.
And yeah, and the thing is that anyone, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's some value for a representative to try to echo the perceived emotions of their constituents. So that might be a reason to do it. But fundamentally, anyone showing any surprise that either A, people would be put to testify that had no knowledge that they could give, or B, that they would have knowledge that they would not be legally allowed to give. Anyone that didn't assume that one of those two scenarios would happen just showed up to Congress. I mean, like yesterday, because I mean, like, how could you? That is what happens, right? And so to me, whenever I see anyone getting really upset about it, I get a little suspicious. Like, why are you? Are you exaggerating how upset you are because you're trying to elicit an emotional response of some sort? And that would be my challenge, because you had Tim Burchett basically today saying that that they did know, that basically the people who testified did know, and they just refused to tell. And then you have this guy saying that they didn't know.
Well, I mean, I think he's also Gallagher on that end is covering his butt politically. I mean, let's face it. In the end, they got to be politically correct. They got to be able to move on, just like us. And we're going to move on because we have a bunch more to get to before we got to get to Shirky Poo's news. Jeremy Corbell actually came up in the hearings as Mr. Corbell. I don't know about you, man, but this shocked me because literally they were calling the video that he had out there that it pretty much was bokeh, and I
know we should talk about that, but go ahead.
Okay. But they called him out on the information that he has provided and will provide. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is it first off, when I saw it, I was floored. I stopped. I went back and I recorded it, and I sent it to Jeremy, and I was like, dude, not bad, right? Like, I mean, basically, like, I mean, he not only got called out in Congress, but he got called out not as a person, as a freaking institution. And next to move on, it's like, oh, you're part of this organization, and then there's Bob, so then I kept wondering myself, like, well, why would you do that? Like, why would you throw such an obvious bone out to somebody, right? And then the discussion moves on, and you get to what you talked about, which is unfortunately become a very, very muddy discussion everywhere now, because people kind of over and misinterpreted some of what was said, and that essentially, you're right, they essentially made his video look very bad. In that, essentially, what they said was that the triangle images that you were seeing were the result of a lens condition. However, what they said was that there was still an object there. It just didn't look like a glowing triangle. It looked like something else. And we don't know what it was. We just know that there were some people flying drones nearby. And in other cases where we saw these triangles, there weren't any drones flying around. So we really don't actually know yet what it is, but we do know that the effect that we saw in that film is this bokeh effect. And so what it really did was, one, it unfortunately caused a lot of confusion, a lot of fighting today. But if you look at it from the point of view of and this is where it gets a little interesting and a little scary. If you look at it from the point of view of, Jeremy was given that video by essentially people in the DoD. They were then pulling the carpet out from under him by doing this. And a really friendly, nice thing for them to do would be to, at the beginning of the presentation, call him out as an institution and make him look real pretty next to MUFON. I'm sorry, but that stitches together real nice for me. And I have no evidence other than my own instincts, but that stitches together very cleanly to me and makes a lot more sense than somebody else stuff we've seen. But where it gets scary is that what we're then talking about is there was somebody who knew enough about what was going to be said that they knew that this was going to happen, and they actually had concerns about what Jeremy would do or feel or react to that, and they decided to take action and got action done in a very action-y way, right? And so who's going to have that sort of influence over a congressional hearing? That, to me, is a very interesting question.
Well, we saw Lou Elizondo absolutely everywhere on the media today, kind of defending the position, talking about it. He was on CNN. He was on Fox News. He was on with Ross Coulthart. And and other podcasts going on, kind of defending the and reminding people, just like he did to me in text message yesterday, stating, "Hey, man, this is baby steps here. We need to be able to take the good out of this. It may not have been what we wanted or expected, but you know what? There was a lot more good than bad. And, for a lot of us, myself included, we are trying to see the positive that was out there and could happen." What was your thoughts of the day's events throughout the media?
I'm actually trying to digest it in fixed chunks so that I'm not trickle fed things, because I want to have more control over how I react to certain things, and take them more unbiasedly, essentially. And so, I think it's been very interesting. I think a lot of it's been very predictable. I think some of it's been a little unfortunate. Some of it has been certainly emotional. But I just, I wish people understood that when you've been in an adversarial debate with anyone for any length of time, and I don't care how much you like them or love them or hate them, if you've been in a respectful, and one of them loses, it's not going to go over well for the winner to gloat about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, there is this problem where essentially it doesn't matter if Corbell is right or Knapp is right or anyone else is right. If you then, run out to Twitter and start going, look, I was right. I'm sorry. You know what? I mean, look, I'm not saying that you can never say anything about it. There are actually very clever ways that you can bring it up, and it doesn't sound so freaking nasty and slimy. But, it tends to fall that way. And so that ends up being part of the challenge. There's a lot of kind of "I told you so's" being floated around today that are not only not helpful, but they aren't even actually valid, because not a whole lot has actually changed.
Well, nothing has really changed. And that's where we are. We're still where we are as we were a couple of days ago. We just have it in public now.
Yes, but we do have one very important change, and that is that we have the Wilson documents entered into congressional record.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We have we have 4 minutes. We'll skip Shirky Poo's news tonight, and we'll get to that tomorrow. So we have 4 minutes.
Were you more shocked by that or by Corbell being announced?
Wilson documents.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. Not too far off.
I could literally feel Dr. Eric Davis, because he is the man behind him, and he's never really talked publicly about him, all of a sudden shrinking in his chair, trying to be like, "Oh my God, I just got called out in front of the American public."
I hope he was with somebody.
Oh,
yeah, no, that was nutty. But the thing is that if you look at the guy that gave the presentation, right? The first thing he says when he came on is, he said, "Thank you for including me," which means he was the last ad. Okay. Now, then he went through his whole presentation and he did hit points, but that little Wilson memo add-in at the very end felt kind of like an "oh yeah" sort of thing to me, right? And so I think there's a possibility that essentially somebody wanted that Wilson memo entered into congressional record and agreed to give him a chance to talk on the panel as a last-minute ad in return for him potentially sacrificing himself, which didn't end up happening, but it could have, by essentially submitting the document to congressional record afterwards. And just to be real clear for those who aren't following, the Wilson documents, which I'll try to send out another copy after the show, are a very, very aggressive, very forward set of documents that makes a lot of claims about what the U.S. government does and does not know about aliens.
Well, you know what? As Gallagher said today, we cannot rule out extraterrestrials. And I think that over the next amount of time, over the next amount of meetings, and I don't think it's this year, I don't think it's next year, maybe even the year after, eventually they're going to whittle everything down to where they are not going to have a choice but to mention that it is extraterrestrial. Even though people like Elizondo, Mellon, Bill Nelson, Jim Semivan, and others have already started the extraterrestrial conversation.
But I think, Dave, that's exactly the point you just said is the point, is to get everyone to the point where they have no choice left but to go to the decision that is the right one. And I think that's the only way they feel they can herd the public in a safe way to the conclusions that they believe are accurate today.
See, and John, I where you and I may disagree, and please, I may be overstepping my boundaries here when I say that. All right, I think a lot of these politicians already know that it's not from here. All right, I think they already know that these are of some sort of extraterrestrial or ultra terrestrial phenomena. They can't come out in public and say that. There is too much to risk. There is too much that is at stake, both in the United States and around the world. Now, that may sound like an excuse, but from what I have heard from people I've talked to, I know that this is a grave concern because they already know it's not Russia and China. They know that this stuff is not man-made. And outside of the swamp gas dude, and that's all I'm going to call that guy, is swamp gas dude, the congressman, the others were at least somewhat in touch with what was going on, and yet we haven't heard from Rubio or Gillibrand as of yet. We got 30 seconds.
No, she did. No, my understanding is that Gillibrand did make a statement. I haven't read it yet, but my understanding is she did make a statement. But Rubio has been quiet, and yeah, I mean, look, this was a surprise for a lot of us. It was kind of a thrill to us, and we got to enjoy it, and we get what we get out of it, and we learned something, and hopefully that means the hearings are better next time.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out because as long as we have Burchett, as long as we have Gallagher, and they want the disclosure, they want it on the table, I think the fight continues, and we need the fight to continue. For anybody in this community, hey, it's going to put a lot of us out of jobs, a lot of podcasters out of jobs. Hey, and I don't mind. And if Canada opens up a Woo desk, I know I will apply for it. I will. But until then, fedora wearing John Hudson, thank you so much for joining us with the Unbiased UFO Report. Thank you to the Swamp Dweller, to Shane Hewitt in the shift, and of course, Merle and Ghosts of the Great White North. We have Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Solid show. Solid show.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Oh, that's fun.
I got to show you guys something cute here. So, John, you'll love this story. So, I get home from work today, and my son comes up to me. I'm on the phone with Nicole Sackich, and my son comes up to me today, and he's like, "Daddy, can we do a favor?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Well, I'd really like a new hoodie, but I want one with a Wendigo on it." So I said, "Okay, how do you want to do this?" He goes, "Well, you make all of those shirts for your radio show store. Can you make me a hoodie?" So I said, "Sure. Of course I can. So I added today, I'll just show it here. This is for my boy. He wanted it up there, and when we took about an hour to kind of hour and a half to figure everything out that he wanted on there. And let me just find it here. And where is it here? Should be up here. Here it is. We designed our the kids' Wendigo hoodie. So we found
awesome.
So we found the logo that he wanted, and we added the trees, and he's all excited because his charcoal gray Wendigo hoodie is now being made and coming to him in a couple of weeks.
Wow, that's really cool, Dave.
So there's the backside. He wanted that on there.
Nice.
To support Dad. And then, of course, maybe we'll get a better look on a green there.
I'm just curious, like, what's his interest in the Wendigo?
Oh, he just, believe it or not, he loves Swamp Dweller. And when I listened to Swamp Dweller, he heard one story about the Wendigo. So he went on his iPad to Swamp Dweller's channel and started listening. When my son gets something in his head, he studies it. He goes on YouTube, he studies it. He'll go online and type in, in his Safari about the Wendigo, and he goes and studies it. Yay. And so right now he's on a Wendigo kick. So we built this hoodie. We put in the bare trees, and I think it looks pretty badass that my son designed this, and this was his choice. And we put it up on the store. And if any of you have any kids, who are into gaming or into the spookiness, it's right there on our Spaced Out Radio store for kid sizes. I haven't put this on the adult side yet. I don't know if I'm going to, but this is for my boy, and he's in love with it. So if any of you want one, they are in the stores right now. And the only place I could find that's manufacturing the hoodies that small for kids was overseas, so they are a little bit more expensive. Like I paid full retail in order to get my boy one, but hey, it's gonna make him happy. So it's right there if you want to try it on out. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because I was pretty proud of him today.
That is really cool, man. That is really, really cool. And that's awesome that he's into it too. That's neat.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool. I thought it was very cool as well, man. So
yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, in say, I don't know, 15, 20 years, when you have a really a second generation of researchers that were researchers during the beginnings of the podcast era, and it's going to be interesting to see like which sort of people end up inspiring other people in their families to continue the kind of work they do, and which ones don't. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah. Thank you for the comments, everybody in the chat room. Really appreciated that. I really enjoyed it. And you know what? If you guys, literally, this is what happened, John. So we finish the shirt. I make the order for him, and he speeds out of here as fast as he can because he's got to go tell mom. And he when kids are so excited, they get that really high-pitched voice. Mm-hmm. I could hear him through my studio walls with that high-pitched voice. Oh my God, mommy, daddy, and I just made this hoodie. And I could hear him, and I am just killing myself laughing, because he's just so excited. He can barely talk. And
your chest and your throat tighten up, and it's squeezed.
It's squeezed tight on him, man. It's squeezed tight on him. But I came back upstairs, and he's like, "Thank you, Daddy. thank you. And I got this at least a 3-4 minute long hug for it. So I'm going to take that every day. I won today with my son. And you know what? I am going to brag about that because, why not? Because I can.
Yeah. Well, honestly, but what I'm most excited about is hearing that your kid likes to take over his own education that quickly like that. That's really cool.
Johnny's always done it. At 3 years old, was it 3 or 4? He may have just turned 4. He comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Dad, did you?" In a small boy voice, he goes, "Hey, Daddy, did you know that the Donkleosteus is extinct?" Well, what the hell is a Donkleosteus? And I'm like, I couldn't even pronounce it. I'm like, what? He goes, the Donkleosteus. Donkey what? Do you know what a Donkleosteus is?
Me? No,
Yeah.
I never heard of one.
Okay, a Donkleosteus was the precursor to a megalodon, except it literally had like its face was like plates of armor. Okay,
really?
Yeah, vicious fish, and it died like 10 million years ago. Went extinct or whatever. But maybe it was megalodon that ended up killing it. I don't know. But he was all over the Donkleosteus and telling me all about this damn fish that I'm like, huh? How is
really
that
cool,
pronounced?
Man. Have you or him studied the giant killer whale that is thought to have been the pure competition for the megalodon?
No.
Yeah. This one is actually going to probably end up with the official name of Leviathan. And you are talking about a killer whale the size of a megalodon.
Nice. Winning.
And unfortunately, because of the way that it was designed, they get even less evidence of it than they do. The amount of data they get on it is so limited. So honestly, they could be wrong, but it makes for some great videos on YouTube, let me tell you. Lots of people doing mock-ups of what it would look like to see them fight in the ocean,
I always think it's funny about when they try and do all these sounds. This is how the Brontosaurus sound, or the Tyrannosaurus Rex, or the saber-toothed tiger.
Okay, yes.
No clue.
Oh, wait, Dave, be careful now. That's not true anymore. We can now 3D print the nasal cavities of certain dinosaurs and blow through them and actually produce the sounds that they would have made.
Really?
Yes.
Mystic's Walk. I actually want to take my son. I might do it this year. I don't know yet. But I actually want to take my son to North Carolina, where there's the beaches and these waterways that are filled with shark teeth. And I want to see if we can find a megalodon tooth. And if we can't, I'll buy him one in a store. But I agree with you. It's I definitely want to get him a megalodon tooth.
There's a VR game for the PlayStation where you go back in time and you have to find all these prehistoric animals and take pictures of them and identify them. One of the animals you have to study is a megalodon. And when you're in VR, it's a bit intimidating, I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm not playing that shit. No. No. Hey, Polar Eclipse, how you doing? Lip Blade, you're still with us? Way past your bedtime. I'm mad at the lip blade right now because he's moving soon.
From where to where?
He's moving from my area, which is about 2.5 miles away, to Vancouver Island.
Aw, poor lip blade. Cry me a river.
Yeah, lip blade doesn't want to leave, but his fishing hook that has him in his nose, the wife keeps pulling it, and he just keeps following. I'm hurt. I'm hurt. Come on, lip blade. You can stay here with me, man. We can go look for Sasquatch every day. Well, you're going to be home in winter. Megalodon teeth can be found in Florida at new building sites.
That's hilarious. Really makes you think like, you know, I mean, okay, so we know how big a megalodon jawbone is. We know approximately how many teeth they had. We know how many teeth they would generate over cycles by the rotation period of the release of the teeth, assuming that they weren't taken out due to damage, breakage, or predator prey. And so you'd actually better figure out with some mathematical certainty how many teeth each megalodon might have produced. And then when you consider how many teeth are out there, I don't know how long that thing lived for, but kind of makes you wonder, like, how many of these things were there in the ocean at one point? Like, I would think they would need to have very large hunting territories because they eat a lot, you know? I mean, you're not going to have like a couple megalodons hanging out in the same area. So I don't know. Like it to me, it amazes me the frequency of teeth that we find of that fish. That is, there's a lot of megalodon teeth, like way too many for my comfort level.
Either way, it would be great to get your. I've held one. Have you ever seen one up close?
No.
I've held one that was the size of my hand.
Really?
I mean,
did you pee yourself?
Yeah. Pretty close. I held one in a souvenir store in Provincetown, Massachusetts, and they wanted $100 for it. And I should have bought it. I really should have bought it.
They only wanted $100?
Yeah.
That's an old tooth.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the youngest ones are what? Like, I forget what the number is. It's insane. It's millions.
2 million years old.
Come on.
Somewhere around there.
Good teeth.
All right. 36 to 41. Well, give me 2 seconds, John. I just got to calculate here. 36, or no, 35, 37, 39. This should be.
It doesn't explain the TikTok video. And I do U.S.-China defense competition. That's kind of my thing, right? Like I wake up every day thinking,
hey, pretty fucking important.
Defense competition. That's kind of I do U.S. thing, right? Like I wake up every day thinking,
hey, pretty fucking.
Oh, shut up. There you go.
Right? Like I wake up every day thinking. Right, like I wake up every day thinking.
Somebody talking to a politician that way about this subject? No.
That whole venue that he was on, yeah, that was. But hey, you know what? You gotta, wherever your constituents go, you gotta follow, right?
Very true.
That's why you want to be very careful what districts you run in.
Oh yeah.
End up having to learn how to fish or something crazy.
Well, Mystics Walk, you can show us where to. You can show us where to find those teeth. I think that'd be a cool adventure for my boy.
20 million, man.
Go find some megalodon teeth. There's a bunch of streams in the in North Carolina that have, I mean, that you can find any sort of teeth, and because of erosion and everything, they're just laying there. You know, like you walk these streams, and the next thing you know, you're walking on shark teeth, and you're 2-3 miles.
See, this is what doesn't make sense to me. Like why? Oh, I'm sure there's a reason. I just need to read about it. But just like,
what freaks you out about it?
Well, no, it's not. No, this doesn't freak me out. I just find it very fascinating that there are that many teeth. I mean, I don't know. Like, it just. I guess what I'm saying is that it almost seems like that somehow there ends up being more teeth than there are jaws. You know, like, I mean, it seems like there's like, it's just hard to believe that there were actually enough of these fish to actually use all the teeth that we find, I guess is my point.
Holy shit. Whoa.
Yes, Dave?
Hold on. Grant Baker, his brother-in-law or his brother crashed today in a helicopter.
Ooh.
So he survived.
Oh, good.
He's a medical nurse, an emergency medical nurse on a helicopter, and their helicopter went down today. Holy shit!
Stable. He's stable but rattled. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's got it. I mean, I can't. I mean, look. I mean, the thing is that helicopters are. You know, I mean, I don't want to like turn anyone off them by any means, but helicopters are helicopter pilots are special people, and really special people, and tough stuff happens, you know, and that sucks. I'm really sorry to hear it went down. I can't imagine how much that would shake you up, but it's good to hear that he's stable.
Yeah, no kidding. Little Davy Altman. How you doing? John, I'm just going to go call Grant, see if he's okay, okay? I'll be right back.
Yep.
I'll be right back. I just feel I got to call him, make sure he's okay. Just chat with the crowd. Give Little Davy...
13 million years? Wow. 13 million. You know, but the thing is that, you know, like, if after I died, I realized that I was, you know, a type of fish that had evolved for 13 million years and, like, had nothing to show for it, you know, like, no real, I don't know. I think that would bother me. I guess that's why everyone wants to be a human, huh? It's really funny, like, Dave's got that so branded that, like, no matter where I am on the internet, like, anywhere I go, I see Altman. First thing pops in my head is Dave's voice. Little Davy Altman. It's crazy. Oh, you know, the other really cool VR thing is they have an Iron Man demonstration where you get to be Iron Man and fly around. And I gotta say, with that one, you can create effects with it. Like, you can shift spaces, like when you're trying to land, where you can really throw off your own equilibrium and make yourself feel like you're tripping or falling. It's fun. It's really cool. I like hacking my own. I like hacking my own body and seeing what I can get it to do, and, you know, how it works and so forth. It's fun, very fun to do that to your body. It's super neat. Tell you, you know, one of the coolest hacks I've ever figured out about the human brain is that the speed in which you can interpret language is relativistic, meaning that it can grow, it can increase, and it can decrease over time. And so what I found was that if I'm listening to like an audiobook, that I can start out listening to it at like 1.25, maybe 1.5. Anyway, and just slowly like bump yourself up a little bit, like maybe every week. You can get to the point where you're reading you're listening to audiobooks at like 2, 3. I mean, I've talked to some people that have gotten like to some pretty nutty areas. I don't think I've ever gotten beyond 2x. I don't think. Maybe, but you can get through a book fast at twice the speed. Let me tell you, and it can make it so you can consume a absorbent amount of material. But the funny thing is, you got to stick with it. If you don't do it, and you go like, I don't know, like a week. Well, probably a week you might be okay, but you go 2 weeks. First time you listen to your last track, it'll be gobbledygook. You got to drop back down to like 1.25 and then work your way back up again. You can often work your way back up faster, but you have to do it. And it's because it's relativistic. It modulates based on your environment basically because we don't have circuit breakers. It's essentially why it happens, right? It's a way of preventing problems that when you don't have a circuit breaker. Human bodies are pretty phenomenal inventions. Did I see the remote control human? No, I got to see that. That's neat. One of the coolest things I'd ever read was this interview of a guy who had been a drone pilot for DARPA, working on some of the advanced research projects that they were doing. And one of the things that they were trying to determine was how many drones one person could fly. And I believe he'd gotten up to about 5, but he said he still had a task switch between them to give any directives, And but that's not the cool part. The cool part was he said that for some of the drones, instead of doing multiple drones, they would do one drone, but they would put sensors all over the drone and they would map those sensors. And he said the weird part is that after you've been flying one of those drones for a while, you actually start associating the drone's tail with your own feet. And you start to associate your own arms with the drone's wings. And eventually what happens is your brain starts mapping in data that way. So when you hear something or get something from the headset that indicates that there's been a problem with the tail, you actually feel it in your feet.
So is it a military drone?
Yeah, this is a DARPA project. So basically, by just creating an analog of allowing the body to be mapped to a similar object but a different object, and then allowing that human to operate with that analog for a long period of time, eventually, the human starts mapping the analog, right? And what they don't know for sure, but where they think they're going to be able to get it, like years from now, is to the point where if you have an active skin on the drone, the pilot will be able to tell when the drone's been penetrated by just one bullet, because she'll feel it or he'll feel it.
There's Grant Tavius in the chat room right now. I just talked to Grant. Update. Sexy Dan, his brother, is got a bad concussion. So far, everybody has survived, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, but so who has the concussion?
His brother.
Oh boy. All right. Well, the thing is, though, I mean, concussions are all about time to treatment and awareness of the conditions, and he could not be in better hands than where he is. So, it's probably the least concerning environment that you could get a concussion.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness everybody's alive right now. Everybody's alive.
And amazed that they didn't all get concussed. I don't understand how anyone walks out of a thing like that without concussion. I mean, it's just rough. That's just rough.
Yeah.
But anyway, all I was saying was that they think they're going to get to the point years from now where, like, if you put like your really active skin on something that, and enough sensors, and you could figure out a way to map those sensors into the person to not overload, because there is taxing. It is tiring to be doing this kind of drone control, that you could get to a point where the pilot actually feels like the drone. So they want to get to the point, what the example I gave was like a bullet entering, but that's not the point. They want to get to a point where you could feel the wind across your nose, where you can actually feel air pressure and lift, where you can actually feel cold and heat, where you actually get awareness that the drone has because of its physical place. This is where things start getting a lot more fun. A lot more fun. And the thing is, it's no different. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember like the very first time you were playing like a multiplayer game.
Can I live late?
With a group of people, and you got so into it that you lost track of time, right? And you come out of it, and I mean, I remember coming out of like Quake tournaments. I couldn't tell you. I not only couldn't tell you what time it was, I couldn't even tell you what day it was. I had no idea. I didn't even know what day of the week it was. I had an idea what month it was because I knew what month the competition was in. But I mean, you get so in your so much of your brain is mapped to what you're doing. That's why it's so enjoyable, because it consumes so much of your brain. That's why it's so much fun. And you can get and it's funny how you can I used to build maps of like if I worked at a place back usually like an Unreal was popular, I would make a map of the building we worked in so that then we could play in that building together, Unreal, right? And it was a problem because what it started doing is started creating this weird illusion where you would find yourself walking around the office in real life, ducking behind corners because you got so used to like hunting people around the building, and you start mapping it all in so that that prize isn't in the corner office, it's in Bill's office, because it is Bill's office just in the game. And so people start thinking that like, oh, Bill's office is where the power up is. And it's weird how your brain will start blending this. And it's astounding stuff. It's but it's, if you think about it, right? Like if you've ever had a dream that you were someone else, right? Had a dream that you were completely someone else. Yeah. I know that. I mean, the money that's important to the drone stuff has been because a lot of it was Disney inspired, right? Like you go to like Bug's Life and the little things run under your feet and your chair vibrates and that sort of stuff. Yeah, right. That's good stuff, right? It's not a mistake that the guy that ran Disney Imagineering used to be CIA, right? It's amazing. It's absolutely astounding what is coming. Because I mean, then you can start mapping this to other things, and like for example, right? If you could give a helicopter pilot the kind of awareness that the helicopter has, right? The kind of being able to sense pockets of low pressure in the air, being able to feel the rotor spinning with less or more resistance because of something in the air, like really getting a sense for that. Man, it's the possibilities are. It's just. But what I was saying about the dreaming you were someone else. If you ever had a dream you were someone else, when you dream you were someone else, you map into that virtual person 100%. I mean, you have absolutely no memory that you were ever anyone else, right? Sorry, my earphones died real quick. Let me put the other ones in. But yeah, no, it's pretty nutty how it can get. I mean, it's pretty insane. So I mean, the human mind's an amazing thing. Make sure it's connected here. Hold on. Let's see. Come on. There we go. Now I can hear. Sorry, I had to get my microphone going again, or my earphone going again. But yeah, no, it's amazing. And like I said, so if you dream, so think about it. If you can dream about being another person, because if you do this, like it's happened to me a couple times when I was a kid, and it's a weird thing because when you wake up, it takes a minute. You know, you have to kind of remember that you are you, and you have to kind of reassociate this it's weird, it's hard to explain, and it takes effort. Like sometimes it'll take time in the like afterwards for me to, like, I'll find myself having to like really convince myself that this is the real, you know. and it's usually actually quite obvious, because very often the other life is completely out of sorts, right? Because like you're like 15, and in that life you were like a 35-year-old man with a wife and a job, and you blew your project at the job, right? But back home, but you know, you're actually like this 15-year-old kid, you know. And so essentially, if you think about the fact that, you know, if your brain can map that, or if you look at multiple personality disorder, right? The way that the entire skeletal structure of that person can seem to change. Obviously, it doesn't. It's the way their muscles. But you know, it's yeah. I mean, the human body is just. I mean, we still have absolutely no idea what the capabilities of these bodies are yet. Which it's in itself is actually a very fascinating thing if you think about it. Why would you ever be in something that you don't know how to use? But that's, you know, a debate for another time. But yeah, it's so if you think about, if you can map yourself to a whole nother person, then, you know, and if you can, you know, if you can map yourself to a video game character when you're playing, if you can map yourself to a book character, you know, when you read about it, then, you know, realistically, mapping yourself to a drone is not that far-fetched at all. And so you'll get to a point where, you know, the drones will have a personality that you will kind of blend with in a way. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really, 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 really cool. Although I must admit, I don't like having that dream where I'm somebody else. It's and it didn't happen a lot. It probably happened like maybe 3 or 4 times when I was younger. Maybe it happened enough times that it got annoying. Let me put it that way.
All right, my friend, it is that time of the night where we have to say goodnight to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Very much appreciated. Tomorrow night on the show, who is it? We're talking UFOs with investigator Fernanda Pires Auger. She is a Portuguese-Canadian UFO researcher out of Ontario.
Oh, far.
And I think you will be very, very.
Wait. I think I know. Okay, well, wait. I'll check it out. I think. Anyway, but cool. Far out. Nice. And UFOs, huh? New topic, huh?
Yeah, new topic. UFOs tomorrow night.
Something different.
And of course, it'll be Dave 101 night tomorrow night. Guess what we're going to talk about? I don't know. The price of faux fur over in Russia. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were talking about megalodon teeth, but okay.
Megalodon teeth, maybe. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Fedora, thank you, buddy.
Nice. Thank you, sir.